We're back, relatively live, without disconnection, theoretically.
Hey,
Uh,
no, that looked fairly seamless in actual fact. It just looked like you froze for a moment and came straight
yep.
back.
So the nice thing about this is that it allows me to discard the delay um, when you go offline.
Oh, perfect.
So we skipped ahead 30 seconds and they didn't even know we did it. Because I realized in the 30 seconds it took us to explain that we were going to take the stream down for that long, it had already fixed itself. So let's talk wars. We're going to show.
More content actually around. In actual fact, I saw a few interesting kind of videos floating about, and actual some explainers as well to to tell you kind of like the do's and the don'ts when it comes to 50 on 50 wars. It's been good.
Mm-hmm. Just fixing some stuff there, and we're good to go. All right. So let's talk wars. Everybody loves wars. Very few people get to actually participate in those wars. So it's a really good opportunity to talk about how early game is different than late game when it comes to wars. And what I mean by that, and you'll see it pretty rapidly here, is that Siege is not set up for low levels in wars. It does not scale any higher than it is. So you have T1, T2, and T3 turrets. Those turrets are, for the defense, you can actually start with T3 turrets. For the offense, you start with T1, and then have to use siege generation tools to actually build them up. And of course, over time, you're able to get to that T3 level. We're right now using T3 repeaters, and in this singular war, I get 87 kills. 87 kills and 166 assists. So, putting that out there, that's a pretty substantial fight. McLeod last night still managed to have a pretty awesome showing. I think that one was a little bit closer. Nothing truly absurd like this fight, but I'm also showcasing that wars are relatively one-sided when it comes to Everfall, in all honesty. And showing some, quality gameplay when it comes to being able to use Siege effectively. So, let me make sure that. Sorry, this is giving me trouble for a moment here, but I'm gonna sort out one of the scenes. We're in the pre-show, so naturally enjoying having all of you guys with us. Appreciate NewWorldFans.com for sponsoring our show, or supporting our show. And we should have a great time with tonight's stuff. The actual show itself isn't going to start for about an hour and a half in terms of like the actual like news-based content. But we're gonna start early and we're gonna chat about wars. So
Yeah.
with that,
Wars is one of those interesting things, right? Like it's a lot of a lot of the sort of PvP gameplay in terms of like open world stuff is very numbers based, right? Obviously, to some degree, you can definitely make your mark when it comes to skill versus numbers. Someone like the duelist has clearly shown that that's the case. But for the majority of people, it's when you're facing a vast superior, like a vastly numerical sort of team or group, it's generally a fairly, understandable kind of eventuality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wars is kind of a little bit different to that because you have 50 people on each side, so it's very much skill. It kind of there's more of a emphasis on skill, and there's also more of an emphasis on coordination and teamwork, which is a very good thing.
Having a good shot caller in a war is probably one of the most valuable things that you can have.
Yeah, for sure.
It's much more rare than it sounds. Like you would think that like, oh, anybody can coordinate people, but you got to know where your enemy is amassing, where you're weak, where your army is. Kind of have an idea of what's going on in terms of like respawn timers. You got to be comfortable with delegation of authority. So like having somebody come in to manage your siege group is actually really important. Those kind of things, they add up really quick. They're important, and they can make or break these large fights. But I also kind of want to just like showcase some of this footage because like this footage is truly insane in some ways. Like just dominating.
I mean, it does showcase a bit of the sort of unbalanced nature to some degree of improved or sort of upgraded turrets, right? Because what you're using there is not the base level 1 repeater. It's a level 3, right? It's a tier 3.
So this is a maxed out turret. Now the other side of this is, of course, these guys are low level. They don't really. Most of them are not Constitution tanked at all. Very few of them probably have any kind of optimal armor set for this. So simply put, they're getting dumpstered, and that's
This is one of the first. I think it was the first ever full war on at least on our server, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So now one of the things here, so you can see, my first focus is actually to just pick on the back line, because you can only hold so many people on the point. Without your back line, there's no heals, there's no AoE damage. So anytime I'm switching points, I'm clearing the back line because also generally they're pretty squishy. And that's the logic behind ensuring that the point is secure without actually killing anybody on the point. Which you'll notice, several times I'll switch and I'll go, okay, hey, I knew there was a guy shooting from up there, and I was like, I just need to see the barrel. And it's the advantage of playing in 1440 instead of 1080 is at that distance you can see the barrel.
See, I thought you were playing at 4K.
Oh, no. I wish.
No?
No.
Okay.
If I ever get a 3090, I will. But I'll be one of those guys that is more than happy to play with a 3090 and risk it.
Yeah.
So of course, turning to shoot the turrets here, and you'll notice, every one of these turrets, the seat is in the top left. So, invert that for ones behind you. So shoot to the top right of all of them, and you'll hit the guy in the seat. And you can peel people out of the seat very, very easily. So here's another example up in the turret. I should have known rocking up to it that it was out of ammo. But rapidly able to just cut through people. I do want to encourage anybody in the audience, if you guys have any questions regarding wars and you know, anything you want to know, feel free to chat. You know, we're here to answer your questions.
Yeah. Most definitely. Hang on a second.
That moment when you actually buy health pots from the store. I haven't had the opportunity to be selected for a war. We'll see what we can do about getting into one of the next ones, because we've got a good alliance, and we've got some sway with that alliance to actually make some decisions. So here you can see which turrets are active. So you can see the barrels spinning up. And that's enabling me to, you know, right now I'm keeping pressure on the chair to make sure they can't shoot those. Have you come across the influence exploit yet? I have not. I have not heard of that one yet. I know there's a number of like respawn type, infinite respawn type things that we've run into for, you know, mass leveling weapons and stuff like that. They generally end up with like 30, 40 people there that kind of ruins the whole process.
Yeah.
Although it becomes a really good health pot farm, which is strange. Yeah. Yeah. Influence exploit. I'm kind of curious on what that one is now. It's rare that I'm not aware of one of them.
Either that or he's trolling you.
or I'm being trolled, one or the other. Not uncommon for that to happen either. But yeah, it's on the New World forums. Basically, a small group of 5 to 7 can go from 11 all the way to 60% plus. Takes the fun out of it. Yeah, I bet. That's...
God, yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, that's not good at all. No, I'm not worried about it. The obviously the devs have a really good ability to track a lot of the data. So you know, many people who will see some of these kind of exploits and stuff like that are likely to see their accounts brought back to conditions prior to abusing them. They're pretty good about that. Yeah, I'm sure they don't know how to fix it yet, because it's probably deep in the code base.
But the nice thing is, you know, even though they don't know how to fix, even though they may not know how to fix it right now, they'll definitely have the you know, the tracking to be able to tell, you know, how much advantage somebody has gotten from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, you know, something like that will stick out like a sore thumb. They may not be able to figure out exactly, you know, what conditions are you know, causing it, but they'll definitely know the effects and the amount of you know, headway that people have gained from it. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Whiskey Tango. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, 2.1k viewers. I'm loving it, guys. Absolutely loving it. You know, again, I want to say thanks to NewWorldFans.com for support on the stream, and of course we support them just as much. Highly
I actually
recommend
penned
if you're
a
looking for a good map. They've got one of the best. On top of that, if you need guides, guides for anything, you want to know more about armoring, you want to know more about anything across the game. Generally speaking, New World Fans has a guide for it. This right here is a critical moment in this fight. So they're in the process of taking A, and you can see the initial thought is start peeling, but I instantly switch, and I'm looking for cannons that are active, because those are going to be the most powerful thing they can field right now. And then I'm peeling their backline away. And just ruining their day. Like, instantly takes the pressure off the point, and we can go focus on other things. So now B's under fire. Look down, make sure that I've got my siege guy in the right spot. I've got somebody clearly filling up the turret there. Figure, hey, here's my moment while everything's somewhat okay. Go grab some ammo. And at this point, I've got so many ammo kits. I don't even think I could use this many ammo kits before the end of the war. Yeah, like, here's the thing. A lot of people early on said, oh, New World's just going to be a flash in the pan, but most of these people haven't gotten, one, they haven't gotten to the end game. Two, they probably have never played Outpost Rush. I know that, and I'm sure, they're gonna hammer on exploits, like, just like they did. I'm sure everybody saw the news on the AFK timer prevention, where people are using macros and stuff like that to evade getting disconnected, which, to be honest, is kind of it's a necessity that was born out of super long queues. And now that they've solved these super long queues, it is no longer an issue. But yeah.
I mean, you say that, like, I was wondering that myself, and I kind of decided I'd take a look at the sort of queue times, or at least not the queue times, but the queue numbers. Like, there is still definitely, super high pop kind of queues, super high pop servers that have queues ranging in the thousands, like, 1,000, between 1 to 2,000. It's nowhere near the hellscape that was, the 12,000 to 22,000 queue numbers. But you still have a fair amount of servers with some fairly lengthy queues, but it has changed and improved like drastically in comparison.
Absolutely.
And 432 in a queue, it's like that's nothing. Like, if you'd have said, like, oh, I just joined a server and I'm at 432 on the queue, people would be like, oh, I would kill for that position in the queue.
Oh yeah.
Right. So yeah, it does depend on how fast 432 does move. You are right in that, but yeah. Normally, it should move fairly quickly, fairly all right.
Yeah. So the other thing to note is that they're increasing server sizes. So before, you had a smaller pool of people in the server, which meant let's say per hour 10% of the server rotates out. Per hour that's a certain number of people. You increase the total pool, that 10% becomes a lot bigger, and that's that makes that queue go faster as well. So it kind of works hand in hand. but some people might not see that. Personally, I think that they could actually expand the servers even further than they have, because some of the starting areas, especially if you're playing on a server that's full, it can be challenging, like very challenging.
No, in what particular way?
Or not challenging, empty. Like a lot of the starter areas
right,
would be
yeah,
empty.
yeah,
like
because I was about to say
the middle ground areas, the 30 to 40 range are starting to fill up, which is great. When does the show actually start? The show will actually start in about an hour and 20 minutes. But we're hanging out, doing the pre-show, chatting with people, and having a good time.
getting
Yeah,
good lay of the land, as it were.
absolutely. Thanks for the follows, guys. I'm much appreciated. Yeah. For those that don't know, the New World Order show, our normal talk show content, we've been dabbling into live streaming recently, the actual gameplay, but our actual talk show based content has been going for about a year and 10 months. So we're almost at the point of 2 years. And I'm hoping that streams like this, where we wildly exceed our own expectations in numbers, enable us to continue this content and have fun with it, because we've been having fun for years. Now I'll tell you what, guys, it's a whole ball of like streaming to nobody. Like I'm gonna talk about Twitch in general for a moment. Like streaming to nobody or streaming to like 10 people is really hard, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like, like if you've ever seen the Twitch subreddit, there's a lot of people that'll say like, "Oh, this is insane," like because there's no one to talk to. Like there's no one chatting in comms when you're streaming to 20 people. But having consistent chatter, having people chat with you on stream and having that chat continually going, actually is really good. Like it makes life so much easier, especially for a show like ours where we enjoy and we kind of thrive on that interaction with the chat. So I just want to say thank you guys, because you guys make our lives a lot more fun. And frankly, allow us to make more interesting content because more of you are here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Day 6 of the ice pylon bug still being cooled down. Totally. Yep.
I mean, you know that like Amazon is going to come out with a patch sort of at some point within the next. I would say within the next few days to fix a few issues.
Oh yeah.
The ice pylon being one of them, right? But like I don't think any of those particular kind of issues or any of those particular kind of problems are to the point where it's game breaking, aside from maybe the influence one. But like that can be rolled back. Any territory that's been taken that has been taken due to abusing the influence bug can be obviously sort of redacted back, right?
Oh yeah.
At least that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, I'm not, obviously like it's not necessarily fair play, but in terms of defending territories, like for wars, and literally got the video of one of the wars up. Frankly, in the early game, wars are much harder to win for the offense. So defense has a solid chance to come out ahead and not necessarily have to deal with the repercussions of that of the influence bug, but still be able to hold the territory and have some fun in the process. Because I can tell you, killing 87 people in one war is
enjoyable content for the players, that's for sure. I mean, it's a little excessive.
To be fair, okay, to be fair, it was fun for me.
Yeah, it
I'm
wasn't
sure the
fun
other
for
team
them.
had a different experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's for certain.
Oh yeah. So some of the other fun stuff, the subreddit, um, is about to break 200K. We're about
Oh,
4K
nice.
4K short of 200K people in the subreddit, which is huge.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's 200,000 person huge.
yeah. And it blew past EVE Online, which has been out for 20 years. You know, versus, hey, we're 6 days post launch, and blew past them by 40K.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the follow. Much appreciated.
So aside from nuking what 80 something people in a 50 on 50, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what have you been enjoying?
Ooh. Today, actually, I had a lot of fun running portals. Which, if people don't know this, one of the fastest ways to level your character is basically running trains with portals, and have a ton of people, just run them together. And of course,
I mean,
the other thing that's equally as fast, in my opinion, is just get a group of 5 people who are at the same point in terms of questing, and just go run quests together. There's a lot of XP there.
and you can, and the thing is, like, if you're doing the same quests at the same time, like, a lot of those quests are are fairly are meant to be challenging for an individual. But the interesting thing is, when you do them with like a group of 5 or more, like, they become super easy, and you can breeze through them super quick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that
Yeah.
again, that's one of the things with chat here. New World is fun. It hasn't hit the, like, people. A lot of people leave EVE Online after it becomes a job. It becomes this chore where you gotta get online because people are pinging you, and it's like, oh my god, there's this massive thing where we need everybody, all hands on deck, and it's like, for this, it's, hey, if they throw it into conflict, we get a war. If we lose the war, then we just go, throw it into conflict and try and take it back. It's not I think the risks aren't as high, but it's more enjoyable because it's just designed to be fun. It's not designed to be a crazy
Laborious,
amount of work.
right?
Yeah.
Some people would say, it's sometimes it may feel laborious, but it's also a case of, you have potential real risk as such. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, but after spending 12 years kind of doing that, like there's a time and a place for risk, and I think, artificially creating that in the period of time where you just want to actually enjoy yourself, it can be a bit much. Like, I definitely kind of feel like New World has kind of hit the nail on the head, like, or hit that kind of midpoint, I guess, when it comes to risk. Risk of stuff that's taken you, at least taken effort to get right, without it kind of impeding on your life, or like, creating real artificial kind of constraints, or artificially constraining your own personal life or your professional life. Because, like, honest to God, hardcore PvP MMOs like EVE Online, or some other ones like, for example, well, maybe not so much MMO, but like, a hardcore game like, say, for example, Rust and that kind of thing. Like, it can, if you're, in charge of enough people, put quite a constraint on your professional life, actually, in some way, shapes, and form. It's a weird one like that.
Yeah. Well, Eve has got this thing where, like, we need you to be online at 4 a.m. For this for this attack, and it's like, I got a full-time job, guys. I can't be up at 4 a.m. for a 3-hour fight before I go into the office. Like, having gone to bed at midnight the night before. Like, come on.
And hoping that it's only going to be a 3-hour fight, and that it doesn't somehow escalate into something that is literally, going on for 12 hours. Something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really kind of crazy. Do you think New World is headed in that direction? I don't think so. I think that New World is gonna... I think they're gonna stay the course of fun. They've done a lot to ensure that fun is kind of the forefront. That effort is rewarded, but the overall, the systems and everything are designed around just having a good time. Some of the quests, I think we're going to see variations on quests over time. I think that's a necessity for them. But I don't see them going the route of making it more difficult, just based on like how they've proceeded from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 to Alpha 3, and then into launch. And they've been pretty transparent with the changes that they've made, and a lot of them have turned it from a more laborious system where you were rewarded for being online all of the time, all day, every day, to let's take it easy. Let's owning territory is not that big a deal. It certainly comes with its bonuses. If you own Everfall or Windsward, you're making a lot of money in taxes, because they're the economic center of the game. But at the same time, the later game is going to be healthy. They're going to be players who move into these higher level zones. And one of the other sides is you really don't have to go, full on crazy. You don't need a guide to enjoy New World. You can just play the game and figure it out on your own. If you are looking for guides, you can check out NewWorldFans.com and like got great stuff. Obviously we're tied with them pretty well, and we love the content that they've got on their site and support continuing that content.
I mean, that's why we're supporting that site, and that's why we're also making like content for that site. Like we're writing some articles and stuff. Like I recently wrote a news article regarding the server changes and stuff. Some of the stuff that we're going to be going over tonight as well. So
yeah,
and they're really cool about it. So
absolutely. Yeah, site is OP. I mean, it is. Like, even here's the thing. Even for the small stuff, like, man, where the heck is all the freaking iron? Where do I find it? They got a map. They got a map that doesn't just tell you like, here's the general area. Like, go here, find this stuff. They got a map that is literally, hey, here's this, thing you're looking for. Here's all of the individual nodes, so that you can go, okay, if I go here, 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 and here, and kind of bounce around, I can get all of the nodes, even the ones that most people don't know about. Or, you can go and set yourself up on a massive loop across the map to get a massive chain of nodes that you're looking for, or find the dyes that you're looking for with the prism blossoms. Those kind of things are great to be able to have at your fingertips when you need them, or if you're struggling to find them. And if you need a more in-depth knowledge of something like a specific topic, like armoring, like I know Studio Loot and NewWorldFans.com. Obviously, like we all work together, but like they've got a great video on it, but they've also got an awesome written guide that talks about how armor actually works. Physical and elemental armor and all of that. Like those things are difficult to explain, but they put it in a way that anybody can understand it. It's easy to get, and it's readily accessible if you need it, without going into breaking the game for people. It just enables you to have more understanding if you need it, or if you want it, or if you don't want it, you don't need it. But yeah. Will contesting late game zones be easier than contesting the first zones then? It depends. So if you're contesting a late game zone right now, it'll probably actually be pretty easy. Because there's not going to be a whole lot of people that are leveled to the point where they can actually see it. Or they can actually like go into that area. So like if a level 30 goes into Ebon Scale, they're gonna get killed by the first NPC that runs up to them instantly.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure people have seen this, but in game there is a system that makes higher level enemies much more painful and much more aware of lower level players. So like if a low level player toes into a place they're not supposed to be, they're gonna die. And that's by design. You can't skip the content. Can't skip to the end game. You gotta play it through.
I mean, but obviously there is, to a degree, you can get your friends and sort of help power level them to some degree. You just have to be very, very, cognizant of the levels that you're going to and the levels that they are, right? Like if you're gonna take like a level 15 dude and then bring him to like Scorpio, like he is gonna die like in an instant. And he's probably not even gonna get to Scorpio, to be completely honest, without dying, multiple times. But even in something like Scorpio, he's just gonna end up like getting absolutely destroyed, in such a short period of time that and getting back from any kind of respawn point that you could put down near it, like, is going to be, it's going to be such a pain that like it's not going to be worthwhile even trying to do it in any way, shape, or form. Like, so, choosing kind of the right locations, the right kind of enemies to sort of go against in order to help your friend's power level to some degree is actually really, really is an important thing to do, right? And it's it has its own kind of degree of skill in a way. Like, you have to match the levels to within a certain kind of a certain range with the the levels that your friend is, in order to power level them well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's some good ways to actually like take a high level player and support a low level player to actually get them into later game content quicker. So you can bring a level 15 into Amarin if you've got higher level players with you. Thanks for the follows, guys.
Yeah.
Real excited for this podcast. to be honest, I'm
Well,
real
glad
excited
to
for
hear.
this podcast. Like, I'm glad you guys are excited because this has been a long time where, like, imagine having to stream this game without Bloodborne. Is good to see you. Good to see you, bud. Um, you know, imagine streaming, a talk show about a game where you've signed an NDA. So there's many things that you can't talk about, and then on top of that, you can't stream any game footage. So it's just, hope and a dream, and you're streaming to 20 people because you're the only person in the category for months. You know, like it's so much fun to actually have the game out and have it be something that we can talk about, that we can share, that we can showcase showcase everything that like we've wanted to talk about, like wanted to showcase wars in in this kind of showcase where it's like, hey, early game Siege is so overpowered, but like people don't believe you because it's like, oh, that's just not the case. And it's like, yeah, but it is. And then having that opportunity to be able to live stream and be like, hey, here's an example of me going 87 kills, 0 deaths, and 166 assists. Like, that's bonkers. Or like what I'm really looking forward to, and this is going to take some time to get to because I'm just about level 40 now. I'm really looking forward to Outpost Rush. Like, I love the PvP side of this game, and that's where things really start to shine.
Yeah, that game mode I love.
Yeah.
I genuinely really love. One of the interesting things is like there's very few people who ever got to actually sort of play it live. Before before now, right? Really.
Mm-hmm.
The open beta was far too short to be able to get to level 60 or for enough people to get to level 60 to be able to showcase it in any way, shape, or form. The closed beta, to a degree, maybe, but like I think there was far too few people who got to level 60 in one particular server to be able to put a match together. I mean, they're not saying that it didn't happen, but I don't recall anybody showcasing it as such. Like, if I'm wrong, then fair enough. Like, but as far as I know, nobody actually showcased Outpost Rush aside from the few sort of press releases and the press kind of like events. But it's a really fun, really fun game mode.
Yeah, and that's one of the game modes I'm looking forward to. Obviously, there's some the expedition content on the high end, Dynasty Shipyards, Garden of Genesis, the Depths. I'm looking forward to the content that hasn't been released yet. We know probably more than we should about that content. It's been hinted at in the lore. We've seen some of the stuff that hints at the next zone being Brimstone Sands.
There you
go. For us, there's actually a special connection to Brimstone Sands. Brimstone Sands. Wow, for some reason that's hard for me to say.
It's gonna be a thing throughout.
Yeah. Because in that zone, is what is referred to as the 19th Legion. Hey, thanks for the sub. Much appreciated.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, 19th Legion, right?
Yeah, 19th Legion. We currently run a company called the 9th Legion, which is in reference to the Roman 9th Legion that straight up went missing and is one of the mysteries of the world right now that has yet to be solved. In terms of where they went, what happened to them, they just kind of vanished. So there's a story behind that. Also kind of the story that they're utilizing for New World. But but they're referring to them as the 19th Legion, as to not confuse people with us, apparently. No, I'd like to think it's about us. But
No.
not.
I was about to say, like, I don't think you could pull that one.
Yeah. So, you know, that's a really cool kind of thing for us, where I'm assuming when they release that, if I was them, I would pair that content with skins for Romans. You know, Roman Legionnaire skins would be dope. Like, I'll be the first one to go with, you know, the full on Mohawk helmet. Like, you know, I will be there. You know.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the new weapons. You know, we've had those teased a number of times. The Void Gauntlet being, you know, substantially further along in mandatory microtransaction to join the ninth. You know, it might be. You know.
I mean, if it gets prestigious enough, we might have to. But like, no.
Yeah, we might have to.
Not this time.
We're actually at the point where we've got to make a second company. We actually hit, well, I think, 99 or 100 players today in our company, so we'll be pushing that. When's the double XP for Prime members? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they went with some kind of double XP weekend. I don't think they would do it for just Prime members though. Mainly because Prime members already have the Prime Gaming drops, which let me show you guys this, because this is something that a lot of people have not seen. Actually, most people haven't seen this. So there's the skin set that already came out for the pirates. There's a second set of that, which comes out October 12th. There's the Robin Hood set that comes out October 26th. The weapon set for Robin Hood comes out on the 9th of November. And then the rest are kind of coming soon. Like, I think that, like, it showcases that, hey, obviously, you know, one of the ways that they're going to go about justifying Amazon Game Studios is bringing people into the larger ecosystem. So getting them involved in Amazon Prime obviously makes sense as a benefit that they can give without it really costing them much money. So, like, you know, build a couple of skins, some weapon skins, etc. Put it out there as a reward for people getting Prime, which makes total sense, you know. So Amazon Prime, you get Prime Gaming by having Amazon Prime. So if people are wondering where this is, I'm gonna post the link here. This is one of the things we'll be talking about during the stream tonight as well. You know, of course, we're talking about during the stream tonight, but this is one of the things we'll be talking about during the actual, like, talk show portion of this. This is just us, like, chatting and having a good time. You know, you'll notice the difference because the pre-show will disappear and the content will be 99% of the same thing, except we have an actual plan for it.
Yeah, we're not just like randomly, like, you know, bumbling along different different topics that was here, there, and everywhere.
Like, I mean, like, being totally honest, like, where we love our content to be is just chatting with you guys, because, like, that's the fun, you know. I
like it to be chill.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. I also have to say this for two reasons. One, thank you to Amazon Game Studio. So they support the stream through the creator program. Additionally, they've supported the stream through a sponsored stream recently. And on top of that, they also, like, gifted stuff to us over the years. Like, when I say, like, a lot of times, like, the kind of, like, partner swag that happens, you only see the big name streamers. Like, this is going to sound comical coming from a guy who's streaming to almost 8,000 people right now. But if you look at our last stream, last night, we capped at 20 people. So, like, I'm not a big streamer. McLeod and I are not big streamers. But obviously, like, we're making a go at this. Like, we're having a good time with it. Thanks for the follow. But even though we haven't been massive streamers, we're not the big fish out there. They gifted, this hat, the box that's, you can't see it on this camera, but the box that's behind me, like a pretty awesome bag that has a growler in it, all themed with New World. Like, those are the kind of things that, like, hey, like, it's cool stuff. Like, and it's really cool that they thought about the small streamers as well, and not forgetting about them in the race for metrics. The hat is dope. Unfortunately, these hats, I don't know if they're ever actually going to go on sale. Because they're kind of like, in order to get one of these hats, you have to be one of two things. Either a developer or somebody who has been involved in either streaming the game since the preview a year ago, or have been kind of either a streamer or in a small group of people that got it as a, hey, thank you for what you're doing for the community. I'd love to say that I got mine for being a streamer, but I didn't. Like, our stream for the preview last year, I think capped out at most 30 people. With like a spike of like 100 people at the day before the preview, which was a huge stream for us. I say this as we rapidly jump over 8,300 people. Like, it is a cool experience.
One of the funny things is, like, being a, so it's fair enough and kind of a little bit awkward to be a sort of a small streamer when you have a fairly decent sort of sized category to kind of be a part of, right? But like, when we made the show, when we made the channel, and started wanting to deliver like New World news and content, that kind of thing, like, I remember that the channel, that the category existed for New World, but like, you would very rarely, if ever, see that category go past double digits in terms of numbers, right? Now, you look at New World as a category, and I'm literally doing this live right now, right? You're in 200, you're six figures, right, in terms of viewership. Like, that is a significantly huge change. And having been a part of it since looking at it, and there was like 35-40 viewers, going from literally making the channel, having it be a complete unknown, to streaming today to like thousands. Like, it's very humbling, and I'm so grateful for it. Honestly, I'm so grateful.
Oh yeah.
It has been a long ride, yeah, but it's been enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to it being, for a long and interesting future.
Oh yeah. And a lot of people will say, the only reason the game has been so big is, there's a lot of haters out there. Like, the only reason the game's been so big is that they paid all the big name streamers to come in, and there are a couple of big name streamers right now playing, in the actual category. I've got it open on the other screen. That's what I'm looking at here. Obviously Shroud, massive, but Shroud has been like, I'm at this point, Shroud I doubt is being, based on his stream title, you can tell he's not being sponsored to play right now. He's here because he wants to be here, because he had a great time in the preview and has been talking about it ever since. You got Towley,
exactly.
who's also same boat. Josh OG, like Sacriel, who's been involved for a ton of things.
Yeah, a lot of them have said that they were requested to play X amount of hours of content, and they've gone like well over it, like way over it.
Yeah, and that's the kicker, is that you want people that are playing your game because they want to play it. Sure, it's a popular game right now, but they're playing it because they want to play it. They're playing it because it's good content, that it's keeping people interested. We've been playing it for 3 years, and I could have told you it was that way from the beginning, but there were a lot of people back then who would be like, "Oh no, it's not going to be that big." One of the things we're going to talk about during the show again tonight is servers, and the process of estimating server size for a player base. It really is different than people expect. And a lot of the indicators didn't indicate anything like what we saw for launch week here. Let me pop open. Looking at SteamDB is what I'm pulling up here.
Yeah, that chart is looking beautiful. So one of the interesting things that I really love about the SteamDB chart, that the way it's indicating, is a lot of games have like the first first couple of days being the most significant kind of size, like basically being the peak in terms of their lifetime, and then it sort of dies off. It's genuinely interesting to see day after day after day the sort of number of people playing increasing. Like we're getting to the point where we're going to be passing 1 million players, and it's not going to be one of those things where like, oh, it's going to be in a couple of weeks time or something like that. Like, I think we're going to break it this coming week. Like, I foresee that there's going to be a bit of a drop, obviously, going from the weekend to the week, because obviously.
I think next weekend is 1 million.
Oh, next weekend. Users. I mean, I think Easy. It might even peak like late this coming week, maybe like Thursday.
I could see that.
I mean, that's my prediction anyway.
I could see that. As I slowly, casually stretch backwards to display my data is greater than opinion shirt, I 100% like. So for those that don't know, I do data analytics and stuff like that for work. So like when it comes to stuff like this, we knew that the preview event, the preview event, a year ago, showcased 70,000 as a peak, which is a respectable game. Like that's Rust. Not a huge game, but popular. It certainly has seen its ups and downs and has some stay to it. But looking at the overall size of the game, you wouldn't have expected 200,000 in the closed beta, and then to see 160,000 in the open beta. All of the indicators were pointing, the pre-orders, were pointing at a much lower number for concurrent users. And I think what people are seeing here is that, hey, there's a lot of draw to this game that's beyond just the hype. Because if it was just the hype, you wouldn't see these numbers going up. because what the reality is here is that the players that are actually playing the game, sure, there's a lot of complaints about queues, and there's some valid ones in there. But the players who have actually gotten in are continuing to play the game because it's fun, it's engaging, it's a good time. And that is being overwhelmingly consumed as the message instead of the because of the queues I can't you can't do anything, or my 3090, which has a known hardware defect that I keep having to remind people of, like the risks there. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. The great part is the game, when you can play it, is great, and that's what we all like to hear. The queue times are being resolved. A lot of the issues with queue times, I think, are going to go away now that they have doubled their server infrastructure. Thanks for the follows, guys. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, the queue times are going. Like, you can kind of there's some like data and statistics in, I think it was like a really, obviously a very popular by now, like a very popular sort of fan site called I think NewWorldServerStats.com. Is that correct?
NewWorldStatus.com.
NewWorldStatus.com.
And it's actually got some really cool stuff here. This P100 queue wait times. When they started bringing up servers, you see these queues drop off dramatically. And then as they continue to add servers, they drop off. And now, outside of the EU servers, the queue times are very reasonable. Even for full servers, you're getting maybe in the 400s. You're getting to see, you're getting to play the game. And it's because people are learning that, hey, if we spread out, this works. And a lot of people were like, oh, we need to make sure that we're, we're all on the same server. Well, unless you've got, 8,000 friends that are all trying to play on the same server at the same time, you can move, and you'll actually get more playtime. So like that that's the discussion that I had with my group of 6 alliances that are 6 companies that we're all in an alliance for. 2 hours into waiting for Moro, we were like, this is silly. If we disconnect for, like let's say the fishing bug comes back, and you get disconnected mid-cast, that fish just cost you 14 hours of wait time. We were able to not only catch up, but still be the first group to take a territory on a new server, being 2 hours behind.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. That was real kind of, that was an eye-opening experience.
So like that's a really big thing to note. I'm gonna bring back the war video here and have that in the background for a while. But like I want people to see that, because that actually is really important stuff. And obviously, like, they're driven by metrics. They're driven by, how do we make this work? What's making people upset? What's the things that we need to fix in the highest priority to be the best for everyone. And I think that they've done a lot of really good work on that. Yeah. Now, one of the other things, and this is actually kind of funny, because like everybody knows the no pre-orders memes at this point. That actually causes more damage than you would think it does. Because, and this is gonna sound like I'm a shill for the industry or something, but like, in order to get good metrics, you have a set of indicators of here's, roughly speaking, how many players, let's say 5% of pre-orders are going to play at the same time. So like you can estimate your server size. You can't get a good idea of, one, where all of your audience is without them pre-ordering, and you can't get a good idea of how many people there are without them pre-ordering, because you just don't know. Now, I am the first one to tell you, I refuse to pre-order almost every game, with the exceptions, some very notable exceptions. New World, I pre-ordered the second it came out, and here's why. And it is one of the very few exceptions at this point to my rule. I had already been playing New World for 2 years when the pre-order came up. So, like, I had already put in thousands of hours. Like, I'm somewhere over 3,000 hours at this point. I've lost track of the actual number. Like, I know Alpha 1, I was in the ballpark of about 1,500. Or about 1,000. Alpha 2, 3, it's about 1,800 or more. And then the closed beta and preview events, went through the roof because I played nonstop for those. And
I think the important thing about that is essentially, we pre-ordered it knowing, having experienced the game, yeah, but also knowing that, like, we were going to be enjoying it, even after the game had come out, even though we had played, a not an insignificant amount of it at all as well. Like,
exactly.
A lot of people a lot of people try games, play games, and they kind of get bored. They kind of get disinterested with it. Like after a few hundred hours, maybe 1,000 hours or so, right? Maybe even less than that if it's depending on the certain kind of type of game, right? But both Aza and I were very much of the frame of mind that, like, there is still a large amount of enjoyment that we can have in this game, even though we'd played an absolute ton of it, through all the alphas and through the betas and the previews, right?
Exactly. And New World is the exception. It's not the rule. That said, like, when it comes to these larger games, like, from an industry perspective, it is actually more difficult to calculate how many people are actually going to play your games and that if they don't pre-order, because you can't assume anything. You also can't assume how well your launch is going to go, as we've seen with a number of games like Crucible, for one. Like, all intents and purposes, it should have gone well, but there were key mechanics that were missing from the game at launch that dumpstered the game early, and within days the game was dead. Given that was also free to play, so like, but it also in terms of wish list, so a better understanding than pre-orders is wish lists on Steam. This is like the non-committal way of saying, like, hey, I'm interested in this game, and giving the company an idea that, hey, like, this is a potential customer, without actually putting anything down in terms of money or anything like that. That's the kind of thing that's huge in terms of, like, actually being able to determine how many people you're actually going to have playing the game. But yeah, like those indicators are very, very difficult to understand, and I think most places they run into those problems. But the other side of things, when we talk about MMO launches and game launches, is that more often than not, you're talking about servers failing, not queue times. Queue times is a symptom of too many people for the amount of servers, which is an unfortunate problem. Don't get me wrong, but it's not server failure. It's not, the game crashing. What is it? Lost Oasis is a good example of this, where the game should have done well, but the servers died and stayed dead for a while before they could fix it. And that, in all honesty, cost them the game.
Yeah, they had to take the servers entirely offline for like a week in order to rectify it. Like, when you have a game that launches and then you have to pull it back. Not that Amazon hasn't had experience in that. They definitely did with Crucible. Like, they put out the game that it didn't really do so well. They had to pull it back and then they end up canceling it. But like, if you pull a game back to fix it and pull it back out, like, it is going to do somewhat irreparable damage to the trajectory of your game. Like No Man's Sky kind of had that. There's you talk to people who are sort of vaguely interested in games like No Man's Sky, and chances are you'll hear and you ask them about No Man's Sky, what they think of No Man's Sky. They would probably say, didn't that game die because like it was a laughing joke for quite a while. Like they wouldn't have realized that in actual fact, I think is it Hello Games that made it? I can't remember. It's something like that. But the developers,
sounds right.
like, yeah, like, I kind of feel like, Hello Game, even though Hello Games, turned that game around, like they did the fact that they launched in that kind of way, it did somewhat irreparable damage to the trajectory of that game. The game could have been, that much more popular.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was correct.
So
nice.
I want to ask the audience for your guys' help for a second. You catch a raid? Are you getting botted? Neither. Today is a special day, man. It's a great day in our world. We're just having an awesome stream. That's what's going on here. Yeah.
These are all the people Ace killed.
Yeah. It's probably most of them are probably all of the people that I killed in this war, wondering what's happened. What's special about today?
I mean, you killed
all kinds of things. We got a big show today, actually. When we do start the show, today's show is actually going to be something special. But yeah, it is a good time as we break the 10,000 viewer mark.
Yay! I've never seen five figures on a.
I have never seen five figures on a stream before in my life. So like, one thing that I do actually need your guys' help with is we are about 26 or 24 follows away from 3,000 followers. I'm not big on follower goals, but if we can break 3K, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really awesome.
So smash that follow button and help us out. I think we can break that.
I think the last big stream that we had was actually on the Gamescom one, right? Cool. The amount of followers that we got from that was pretty awesome.
That was a pretty awesome one. That was the one we got included on the drops, which was awesome for us, for everybody out there. Like,
I'm not saying that might have been
huge.
I'm not saying that might have been a contributing factor, but like, I'm glad that people didn't just stay around for the drops and then when they got the drops disappeared, because they definitely did stay. They definitely did stick around, which is awesome.
We play on the Paralysis server. You guys seem chill, definitely deserving. I appreciate that. Like, we've been doing this a while. It's great to see the numbers spike and interest rise and all that. Like, it's fundamentally we do this because of you guys. So like, that's why we're here. You know, it really is a cool experience, guys. I really do appreciate this. So the other thing is, spread the word. There's a lot of people out there who have not heard that, hey, there are talk shows about the game, that have been going for quite a long time. Like, we're going on a year and 10 months here. Which...
Yeah, it initially wasn't planned to be that, by the way.
Yeah,
like
initially it was supposed to be 4 months before launch.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, like when we started this, it was a case of like, oh, it's going to be 4 months to the launch. We can tread water for a little bit, kind of keep it going with like the the sort of announcements every so often from Amazon Games regarding New World. It'll be a little bit thin on the ground, but we can do it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a year and what was it, like 9 months later, like,
yeah, imagine making content for a year and 9 months before you can show anything. Like, while towing around an NDA the entire time. Like,
and to be fair, like we haven't been the only ones doing it, although we were kind of like one of the pretty much the first to actually make a talk show about it to some degree. Bordy and BDLG. Bordy is BDLG. Bordy and Redbird, more like. They've been doing it pretty consistently as well. So mad props to them as well. There's been a few others, but I think they've been a little bit inconsistent, like us, like we have. Are you queuing up a interesting video?
No, actually, I've got a few things here. So one of the things in our title, for one, was surprising. But I also wanted to edit our Streamlabs bot, because there's some stuff that it's doing that I'm not a huge fan of, and I wanted to also point people to below the stream. If you scroll down, there is a link to New World merchandise that brings you to Amazon. That's their merchandise, not ours. But by clicking that link, you are supporting us directly. It doesn't cost you anything extra. If you're interested in a New World t-shirt, sweatshirt, etc., the only thing they don't sell is this hat. I'm sorry. Ahead of time.
I mean, I'd have been the first one in there. I'd have been the first one in there to get that hat. Like, all things considered, but yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's a big one. If anybody's curious on those,
yeah, definitely check them out.
Yeah. So what? This is a not necessarily a question, but I think this is a good thing to talk about is server merges. And what happens. So, when two mergers are going to merge, fundamentally they're going to take a high population server and they're going to mesh in a low population server. And basically you're just merging databases, with the notable exception of you obviously can't have two companies own one territory.
No.
So obviously the big server wins out in that, and the small server loses out on that, which is unfortunate for the small server, but enables you to actually survive.
I mean, it is a bit of a necessity, right? Like, you only have X amount of territories, and you can't exactly, share a territory between two companies, especially two factions. So you have to kind of make a judgment call there in some way, shape, or form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if you're merging a smaller server with a larger server, it kind of makes sense that the larger server, does carry the territory over, considering that is going to be the larger population that would be affected if the servers, like if the territories did change.
This is a moment I never thought would happen. We are just a couple hundred viewers away from overtaking Towley.
Oh my god! Well, I mean, Towley's a popular streamer. That's fair enough.
Yeah. That's highly unexpected and much appreciated, guys.
And I don't think he's been doing New World as much as for as long as we have, but you know, he's definitely got an audience.
Yeah, he's been making some good stuff, so I appreciate him. Yeah. So in the background here, I've got we've got about 20 minutes until the actual show starts, so I need to start pulling up some links. We have some content directly from Jeff Bezos through another source, but because obviously Jeff does not converse with us directly. Instead, he has conversed through Twitter.
I mean, yeah. If Jeff conversed with us directly, we would definitely tell him certain things.
I don't think we'd be streaming. I think we'd have different jobs.
We wouldn't be. well, yeah, but like, I think we'd also be telling him to simmer down on the whole, like, you know, getting to space thing, because that really is not looking good for him. You know, yeah, things like that. Like, you know. But
Towley's at a 120-hour stream.
Oh, wow. I mean, I honestly have to respect somebody who can stream for that length of time. And what I mean is, like, I mean, that's
impressive.
I like, in that kind of sense, that's why I also you know, very much respect like Josh OG, because he always does these, you know, huge lengthy streams, right? And you know, having streamed, you know, respectable amount of time.
Streaming is draining more than you know. Like, way more than people know. Like, I get the equivalent of like hangry at the end of streams. Like, it's weird, you know, and that's after like 6 hours at this point. Like,
I think part of, though I do think part of it is the type of stream that you do. Like,
True.
I think, like, if you're just generally gaming kind of thing, you know, you can game for a lengthy period of time and it not affect you too much. But you know, if you're you know, trying to make, you know, trying to consistently, you know, bring conversation, you know, out and, you know, make good salient points about things, I think that takes a little bit more effort as such. But you know, I that's at least my experience of it anyway.
Yeah,
I do think that multi-day streams is quite an achievement to be able to do. So I don't want to minimize that effort, because that effort is Herculean.
That it is. Sorry, I'm grabbing assets for the show at this point, guys. You know, good lord, we're about to break 11K. Legit, you guys are like, this is shock at this point. Literally, like, it was it yesterday? You put up a stream for the Defense of Everfall, and
I mean, that was
20. I mean, it was only like a half hour long, but like, you know,
it was only half hour long, and you know, in all honesty, I barely, you know, did much to actually say that was really going on.
But it was like 25, 30 people, you know, so.
I mean, you know, that's sometimes that's how discoverability works. Like, you know, it's the way it goes sometimes.
But yeah. So, see, we've got a PC Gamer article that I got to pull up, which I hate using their stuff.
Oh, PC Gamer.
Yeah,
I think there are, like, I don't want to, you know, sort of tarnish everybody with the same brush at PC Gamer, but like, you know, unfortunately they do, you know, they do have a a lot of writers who write primarily in game very, very, very much secondarily, if not tertiary.
Yes.
Tertiary. I wish it was the other way around. You know, I'd be, because you know that's what copy editors are for. That's their job. You know, to you know, go through an article and make sure that it's you know, make sure that it reads well, that you know, that the article makes sense, that you know, the points are you know, good and salient, you know, and that the grammar's perfectly fine and stuff. Like, you know, you don't need them to be the ones creating the content or writing the pieces, right?
Absolutely. And for the record, we just overtook Towley as we grow to
Hey.
11.4K.
I like this stream.
Absolutely. It's a great time, guys. So of course the other side of this is kind of the support that we receive from various groups. And I know I'm dipping off camera here for a second. You know, the support that we get from different groups, the connections that we build, the ability to talk with other streamers and build, you know, meaningful, lasting connections. You know, joining Studio Loot, joining, you know, joining the creator program for AGS. You know, all of those things really do matter. Building, you know, lasting relationships with the developers and hopefully being more than just a thorn in their side that's constantly asking for, you know, for one thing or another.
Why is this broken? Why is that broken?
Why is this broken? You know? Like those kind of things are huge. Thanks for the follow, by the way. We are aiming to break 3K followers tonight. We're very close, guys. How does the enemy gain reputation? You gain reputation through running PvP missions. You can run additional. You can get more reputation for territory by owning the fort. So if you can both hold the fort and have your faction turn in PvP missions, you'll rapidly be able to destabilize a territory or restabilize a territory. There is an influence bug right now, but don't use that. It's not a thing you want to do.
No,
Good luck on 3K. I'm hoping tonight's the night. Thanks for the sub.
Yep. Oh,
Thank
nice.
you for the sub,
Cheers,
guys.
Pop.
Yeah.
Cheers, Poppuccino.
We're going to be talking about Prime Gaming tonight too. More than just from a subscriber front of things. Prime Gaming is going to play a huge role in New World. Can you decrease the enemy reputation? So in terms of like influence for taking territories, is what I think you're talking about.
You definitely can.
You can run PvP missions for your faction, which reduces the influence that they have in the territory.
And obviously, if you're doing PvP missions in your territory to reduce their influence, like, it will come at no surprise that you will eventually end up coming across the people doing PvP missions in your territory to influence and undermine your territory. And if you're able to kill them in open world PvP, then obviously you're putting the brakes on their capacity to influence your territory.
Yeah. Sorry, just prepping prepping some additional stuff for the show here. Cool seeing the cannon. So this is actually one of the things that like I'd been talking about for a long time pre-launch, and I'd been looking forward to this opportunity because little known things about siege equipment is that they are scaled for level 60s. They're not scaled down, and they do not scale up any further than they are. So this is a T3 repeater, and you can see that it eats people for breakfast. And if you don't have Constitution going into a war, you are going to get evaporated. Like, especially early game, it is so impactful, you know. And that's actually one of the reasons why I like kind of begged, borrowed, and stole to get into this war, and then was able to help them set up and ensure that their siege was
Adequate.
Was adequately adequately trained. Like I went through like a whole like boot camp with them, which was actually a cool experience. At some point, we'll actually create some content around wars, you know, for YouTube. But yeah.
It was good. Like and when we say that like siege weapons are you know balanced for you know sort of level 60 end game kind of stuff. Even you know there are tiers to you know how powerful and how you know sort of high in HP they are. But even at level 1, it's you know things are pretty powerful for low end. You know, to finding you know people at low levels. You know,
Absolutely.
when you get to the realms of, and that's the thing, like when you get to the realms of being able to sort of upgrade turrets and upgrade siege equipment to level 3, you know, those things do significant amounts of damage, you know, to low and mid level, you know, because they're basically balanced for people at level 60.
Absolutely. The other important thing here to note is that defense starts with their equipment upgraded already. So it is the level you would, when you declare war, if they finish an upgrade even after you declare war, it's going to be that level. So we had just finished T3 turrets T3 repeater turrets prior to this war starting, and we're able to just, you know, dominate because of it. Whereas they're dropping T1 turrets, which deal less damage and have a slower rate of fire, and have a higher overheat, or like their overheat happens quicker. You know, those kind of things are actually really cool. Like, you know, it's a lot more important in a war than you might think it is.
Actually, like talking about tiers and upgrading kind of thing, like you, I think a lot of people don't realize that as an attacker, you can actually upgrade
yes,
your siege equipment. It requires the use of I think like war supplies, right?
Yes, you need the supply generators. You can upgrade your turrets all the way up to T3. It takes some time, but it can be done. It's really important to do if you want to do it well. You also need to make sure that you're utilizing all of your siege turrets in the right spots, which means taking them down and replacing them when you need to move them to take on a different point. This bouncing back and forth from point to point is not the optimal way to actually take a fort. We got about 7 minutes until the show starts, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Yeah.
So
you actually need to think when it comes to 50 on 50. You can't just zerg about the place. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of you know, a lot of equipment in 50 on 50s that are designed to kill people en masse.
Could you still sneak in the back? No. All of the doors are one way only.
I mean, there's still
you can't break in. You know, can't break in.
You still have to take you still have to take all the 3 points at all of the 3 points outside before you can hit the doors. But like, you know, there are still, you know, doors on the back side of the forts that you can take down.
Yep. Thanks for the follow.
but you can't take those down before taking those points. Just so you know.
Yep. And don't get me wrong, there are ways that that you can beat what's being shown here. Like there are many ways in which you can actually dominate as the attackers early game. You need to have a coordinated siege group that knows what they're doing, knows when to take down turrets, knows when to move them, knows optimal positioning for them, and you need to pay the 15 grand for the war. Paying the 5 grand is a joke. Like you need 10 pieces of siege equipment to win an early game war. Like do not try and underpay for war. You will not appreciate the problems that causes for yourself.
The other thing with that is the generator that generates your siege equipment supply is much more effective at generating those supplies if you actually pay the 10k rather than cheap out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, I'll just pay the 5k, like that way we can get experience in the war. It's not experience, that's slaughter. So the other thing is attackers have one of the most effective siege weapons in the game because they can use the firebomb turrets. And the firebomb turrets basically launch a barrel of flammable liquid that blows up and creates an AoE fire that stacks. Like, let me put this out there. Imagine 10 firebomb turrets dropping AoE fire on the point that you also have to hold. Like, you're not going to be able to stand there without taking a ton of damage. And that is huge. So, you mix that with AoE coming from your mages, from your life staffs, and all that. Like, that's a lot of damage. Or from any AoE abilities on any other weapon. Don't let me discount those. But that could be a lot of excess damage. We are 15 follows away from 3k, by the way.
Let's do this.
Let's do this, guys. Slam that follow button. Hi, Jeff Bezos. Yeah, I wish we had him live on stream, but unfortunately we don't have him live on stream. We do have a comment from him that we'll cover on the actual show here.
Yeah.
As we break over the 12,000 marker for viewers.
Not too shabby.
All I have to say to Twitch right now is eat your heart out for denying our partnership application.
They're looking for consistency, dude.
They're looking for consistency. Can we do it twice? Oh, good times.
Fingers crossed. And hopefully you guys out there, like the content and enjoy the show that we have coming up enough to come back and check it out again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is our hope, and that is our aim. So
Absolutely. It's gonna be I hope that tonight's show is the first of many that you guys will enjoy. We're aiming to bring this content weekly, mostly aiming for Tuesdays. And fundamentally, like we want to be your guys' source for information. Beyond the devs, because the devs are obviously like the centralized source for official information. We validate what we say against the game itself and with the developers themselves, so that we aren't off base on things. Like one of the topics that we're going to bring up on the show tonight is going to be moderation. And as we're 2 minutes away from the show launching, I want to make sure that people know that is a difficult conversation to have. As some people will continually troll whoever, because it is what it is. That said, it isn't what people think it is.
Which is an interesting comment to make.
Yes. So, and I can say, as a Reddit mod for the New World game subreddit, I can tell you that many of the people who are coming out as, I did nothing, I'm a sweet innocent little angel, I can tell you what my mod queue looks like for the subreddit, and they're not sweet little angels. So
yeah. Thankfully, people who desperately cry out for moderation on various different platforms don't make up the majority of the people playing New World and the people, in the community. Because if there was, then oh my god.
All right, we have officially hit 7 o'clock East Coast time. We're going to start the show. We'll see you guys right after our intro video. Thank you.
Hope you like it.
And we will see you when the show starts. Welcome, everyone, to the NWO Show, your source for everything New World.
I knew you wouldn't have got my camera up.
It's supposed to be up. This is of course why there's all kinds of fun.
Welcome everybody to the New World Show, your source of news about New World.
Yep.
Everything
and shoddy showmanship at that. That is
nice to see some new faces in the audience.
That's also,
and I hope we get to see and even if you're watching the VOD later on, definitely throw us a follow if you like the show today. I am in the dark cloud right now. Yes.
Yes, I'm having some challenges with McLeod's camera for some reason.
It's probably need to, you probably need to press OK and then go back to it and then, change the screen. Probably down to a change of name. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Grinding in game while you're listening, awesome. That's
I would expect nothing less from absolute New World addicts.
McLeod, I don't know what is going on here. Like,
what is going on with
your camera is like hard not listening.
This is why we can't have nice things.
This is in fact why we can't have nice things.
I changed the name of the channel, so that may help. Yeah, just remove it, re-add it. It's all good.
Let me studio mode this so that I don't.
Hopefully the queue will kind of move along fairly well. Far too long. Yeah, maybe far too long. People's expectations of queue times have kind of gone up. Expectations of I kind of actually I kind of think like the amount of time that people have spent in queues. People, I would imagine people would have gotten used to it by now. I guess it's one of those fleeting things, right? Where queue times. Uh, once they start improving, it becomes the new norm, right? And people's expectations for queue times, start to diminish in that regard.
Okay, it's fixed.
There we go.
Ta-da!
Yay!
Mission accomplished. All right, everyone. That obviously was not how we planned the show to start. But every once in a while, you just have technical issues like that. So tonight is obviously a special night. Tonight we have at the start here 12,500 people watching. So it is a
Nice.
huge night for us. I want to talk about a ton of really important topics tonight. I want to talk about moderation. I want to talk about the servers. I want to talk about Jeff Bezos and fundamentally the New World team, because what we have after basically a week is we have one of the most successful MMO launches in, frankly, gaming history. So,
Well,
I wanna-
it definitely feels very much successful.
Yeah.
There was I think there's we could go
especially
on
in
about
recent history.
Yeah, in recent
Yeah.
history, yeah. Like I kind of feel like we could go on and on about like what it could have been if they had if the servers were never ended up to capacity. But honestly, when you look at some of the sort of some of the expectations that some people had for servers, the server capability, I kind of think it might have been a bit of a too much of a wing and a prayer, right? There was like we go back to some of the images, right? Some of the images that were shared around. A 2,000 player server with like 22,000 people trying to jump onto it. Like that's only really going to go one way, right?
Yeah.
There's
definitely a measure of like the server, the number of servers wasn't right, but there was also a measure of people's plans didn't mesh with the reality of how many people can fit on a server itself. So I mean, don't get us wrong, there was fault on the AGS side here.
Yeah.
But there is also fault on the player side, because people refuse to change their plans. We took 6 companies 2 hours in, and we were like, oh hey, like guys, this isn't gonna work. The queue for this is 2,000 people. Like, we can't imagine disconnecting and coming back and being like that fish that I disconnected catching was worth 12 hours of my time. Like that's just not reasonable, obviously.
Thankfully, casting a line into the river in Windswood didn't incur what happened, sort of in the closed beta or preview. So I think it was a preview.
While talking about this, we want to talk about how big this game is. So for those that don't know, Steam DB or Steam Database tracks the number of users that have the clients open. For those that have never used Steam before, your actual Steam itself, let me open this up. You'll see a number of fun games that I play, but you'll notice I am not currently playing New World at the moment, mainly because I'm using the computer for my stream, and I want to make sure that that's the primary focus. If I play the game, this shows as game running. And that's because it's detecting and sharing with Steam that I am playing the game and the application is currently running on the computer. So that's so that it doesn't launch it multiple times, which makes sense. This is how Steam is able to give out charts like this, where we know exactly how many people on at least a 5 to 10 minute update cycle. In some cases, it updates even more frequently than that. where we can tell you exactly how many people are playing at any given time, within a small margin of error. Now, this is rare for almost any game. You look at games, I'm going to use Warframe as an example. It has its own launcher. So you don't have to play it through Steam. So the number that you see on SteamDB for Warframe isn't the same number as are actually playing. Because there are people who just launch it through the native launcher. Or EVE Online is another example, where the amount of people playing through Steam is different than the amount of people playing through the native launcher. Those numbers are brought together as a whole different thing. Now, let's talk about how crazy this was. A year ago, we had the preview event. The preview event signaled ballpark 70,000 users at the peak. I think it was like 72 something. The official number's on our Twitter somewhere, but 72,000. Now, I think just about everybody would say that's not a overly crazy large launch. That's a respectable amount, but not something that you would expect. But for the game as it was, it made sense. They were delaying the game, so not everybody's going to play. But it gave everybody an opportunity. This pulled us into, Alpha 3. Alpha 3 goes through, continual hype is being built. There's advertising campaigns throughout. There's videos, there's news releases, there's, developer interviews, mechanics that are being released to the public, like when we did the Amaran Expedition event for the creators. Those all build hype. It's okay. That brings us...
The interesting thing is, the interesting thing I wanted to quickly point out on here was, throughout this kind of development, it being still in the alpha kind of stages, it's not like uncommon, or it's not sort of it's not unheard of that developers like release some information to the press or to the public about like new features in the game, that kind of thing. But like one of the things that we kind of saw that was very interesting throughout the sort of the Alpha 3 stage was Amazon Games releasing actual patch notes, like per line patch notes as to what they were changing, which is very much like uncommon. It's fairly rare as far as I know, when it comes to sort of developing a game. So I have to kind of give it to Amazon Games for that, because like breaking the mold in that regard is pretty cool.
Absolutely. So 70,000 was that a year ago. Then you get the closed beta. Closed beta, after 2 weeks, hit a record of 200, just breaking over 200,000 users. Now, that's a large number of people, but not insurmountable by any means. Like from a server perspective, it makes sense. But what wasn't seen was how many people didn't play. So, they had yet another delay at the end of the closed beta that was followed by a pretty short window to play as an open beta, which makes sense because you wanted people to get in, have a chance to play the game, maybe pre-order or buy the game early, or try the game and, hey, this isn't for me, and go elsewhere. That open beta didn't have the amount of people that I think anybody expected either, because that only hit 160,000. So if you were looking at the indicators, from the public here, you would see 200,000 being kind of the top end, 200, maybe, and let's say we even double that, 400,000. Our estimates prior to the game launch, we're in the ballpark, this as a channel, we're in the ballpark of about 500,000, which is pretty reasonable. That's a pretty massive game launch. That's a success right there. Right now, there are, me hit refresh because I want to make sure that this is current. Because it is dropping off because it is no longer peak time frame and it's Sunday. There are 709,000 people playing the game.
The nice thing is with that chart, you can actually see a good trending line going like rising straight through that. Like
absolutely. It makes sense. The trends are consistent day on day, but what didn't make sense is the number of people. All indications showed that they were going to aim and hit that 500,000, maybe 600,000 marker. In the first day, they hit over 707,000 people. Now, let's say the public numbers of 2K per server were to be believed, which those are not an official number. Those are the New World Status site's numbers. Obviously there was not enough servers to meet the demand for what is, functionally speaking, a starved market for a new AAA MMO.
Because we counted up the number of servers that they initially kind of announced, right? It was 170. They initially announced 177. There was a bit of a typo. It was actually 176. But going on the most sort of the most liberal of estimates, right? Like somewhere around about 4 to 5K per server. Like you would get a sort of a population for the game to be around about 750,000. Somewhere around that ballpark figure. I forget the actual sort of the number that we calculated for, but that was something that I would have imagined would have occurred not at day one, but sort of quite considerably afterwards, while the population sort of built up on the servers, that kind of thing. With them releasing 176 servers with only 2K population, like obviously the capacity for handling that population is drastically reduced in that regard. So 707,000 people wanting to play the game definitely stressed their servers and was not what they expected, I think.
Now, I'm going to pop off this page because the number to remember here is the all-time peak that happened today is 913,000 people. You'll note that the queue times were not conducive of that as well. Like, they did not show, 16,000 people in queue, which is interesting. But let's see why. So, New World Status is a site that is a third party. It is not an official site. So do not perceive this to be an official site. It is by far a third party individual who has put it up to track things.
It's a good effort, though. It is an exceptional effort.
Yes,
I'm not gonna lie.
It is a good effort. It could use some tweaks on a UI basis, but that's just coming from somebody who develops, Power BI dashboards for a living. So, don't mind my critiques. They come from a good place.
It's professional critique. Don't take it personally. It is what I'm saying.
So, things that we saw. Players active by region. This is kind of a cool chart. So it shows, obviously, like EU has a massive population playing this game. North America East has a massive population playing this game. One of the things with North American East is you're also sharing with a lot of our European friends because it is an East Coast server. It's close enough that your connection is, in theory, good enough to play on both. McLeod here has been playing on a US East server since Alpha 1, and it hasn't been an issue. So,
no.
And he plays from the UK, which is obviously not in the US. So,
I can confirm this.
Yes. So, players in queue by region. This obviously goes up every day. Has spikes, but you can see these numbers dropping dramatically. EU having by far the worst of the problems, but North America East having hundreds, 100,000, 66,000, 46,000, 34,000. So the queues are dropping because people are learning that, hey, I need to go to a different server. We need to move if we want to not deal with these massive queues. But let's talk about queue times. Because people are moving to new servers, because people are joining these new servers and they're taking groups with them off of these super populated servers that are tired of, oh, I disconnected, I'm not going to get to play again today. They're able to get substantially lower queue times across the board. So despite there being a lot of people in these queues, there are also a lot of servers now to make up for that.
Yeah.
And this chart here actually showcases this. This starts, a little under 250, and now they're in the ballpark of, I believe it's almost 600 and some servers.
Yeah, I think last time I checked, it was over 600 for sure.
Yeah. So obviously you can see them turning on new worlds, and you can see roughly how long it takes for them to turn those on. And what they're doing is they're taking a look and seeing how many people are moving. How many people, is this actually going to fix? Now, let's talk about the other problem. Let's talk about the player side problem. Because obviously Amazon didn't have enough servers at launch. And that is a problem in itself, and that is on AGS. But the other thing that happened was the players. So, players went to a few servers in mass, in a population that is substantially larger, to the point where it was multitude sizes more than the actual servers could hold. Which, hey, that's a strange thing to happen, right? It's not you had 16,000 people, for instance, in queue for Valhalla. That's a lot of people. That's many times more than can fit on a single server at one time. That meant that in order for that queue to go down, or for you to get in, the server would have had to cycle through 4 to 6 times the actual amount of people on the server. So the entire server would have had to quit out 4 to 6 times end to end before you got into the game. Think about that for a moment. Now, there is a thought process of people saying, oh, I wanted to play with my friends and they're playing on that server. And I totally get the sentiment there, but unless you have 4,000 friends on the same server, you should probably consider moving to a smaller server, because it's not like it's not going to be an active server. Like, we play on a very full server that is full almost all day, but we don't have very much of a queue time, if any, because our server toes the line on being full. So you're still getting a high population server, you're still getting the feeling of having a high population around, while not having to deal with a massive queue. So basically what I'm saying here is players deserve a little bit of the blame for all trying to congregate in one spot. Had they have picked a server that was substantially less popular, or in terms of name, because it's the only thing people were picking it off of, there wouldn't be nearly the problem that they had. And I want, I don't want to say players are bad or anything, but like, hey, that's kind of a big thing. Jafar, always good to see you. Bad guy from Aladdin. Yeah, I'm gonna take a moment here, because we've got a massive audience. I actually want to take a moment and talk about like the OG New World streamers. Bad guy from Aladdin is Jafar. If you guys don't know him, he's one of the good guys. Studio Loot, our brothers, Redbird, BDLG, Taken, all great people. Dane, who I think he just finished his streamathon or subathon, I believe. McLeod, you're muted.
That'll be why. So yeah, Danny's been going from strength to strength, but yeah, like, you know, Bordy and Redbird, and you know, even sort of people, you know, guys like Big Bear, QT, and the Duelist and that kind of, you know, those sorts of guys, like, you know, they're all OG kind of OG members of the streaming community in New World. Massive love to those guys.
Absolutely. You know, like there are a lot of people who have been here for a very long time. You know, it's great to see things expand. Great to see, you know, the number of people coming to the community, the number of people that are just a part of things now. Sorry.
But yeah,
there's one I was looking at. So
I'll look at
this here. Oh, it's gonna refresh everything on me.
It is gonna refresh.
So queue times are obviously dramatically lower than they were, and I think that's important. We were hyped about New World before it was cool. You know, it was the niche game that was going to be Amazon's next failure when we started our podcast. And actually, this toes into the next thing that actually I think is a really good thing to talk about. We're going to talk about Jeff Bezos. Because Jeff has not been silent about the New World launch. And he had the opportunity to toss some shade where shade was deserved. So let's load up his Twitter. After many failures and setbacks in gaming, we have a success. So proud of the team for the persistence. View setbacks as helpful obstacles that drive learning. Whatever your goals are, don't give up no matter how hard it gets. Amazon Game Studio fundamentally has had a hard time getting into the gaming industry. They've had a lot of tough launches, and frankly, they've learned a lot of lessons from those. You know, what to listen to, what not to listen to. The follow-up to this is 2 of 2. 2 articles are only 8 months apart. Bloomberg releasing an article that says Amazon can make just about anything except a good video game. Talk about karma coming back to bite you.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. You know, that is a huge difference. That is an absolutely huge difference between Amazon has a smash hit on its hands, you know, from 8 months ago, it was going to be dud. Like, that's huge. That's that right there in itself is the capacity to learn from your mistakes, is the capacity to build on that and build something great out of it.
And that's kind of something that, like, I think should hit home for more people. And I know that it's coming from, you know, it's coming from you know, Bezos, you know, not exactly somebody who doesn't exactly have that much sort of resources to call on, right? But, like, you know, he started from humble beginnings to, you know, in many respects. And you shouldn't really see that particular tweet as like something being said by a multi is it billion or trillion at this particular point? I'm not sure. I'm going to use billion. Probably, yep. Yeah, multi-billionaire.
Not quite a trillion.
Like, not quite trillionaire, but getting there. But, like, you shouldn't really see that as a tweet from somebody who has, you know, all the advantages in the world, because he didn't start with all the advantages in the world. But you should see that as basically as something that's quite a humble thing that somebody is kind of putting out there, right? Like, you know, if you like what you're doing, if you enjoy what you're doing, if you're, you know, persistent about it, and you know, trying to make it the best that it can be, then eventually it will happen. Eventually it will, it'll, go good for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it fundamentally
need that
is
tenacity.
like it is a learning process with almost any industry. It's a learning process. And I think the focus of his message is that you need to learn from failure. You need to accept failure. You need to, not just cut and run when things are hard. You need to understand why things are hard. You need to understand why things aren't going right so that you can take that and move on. And I 100% agree with chat. A smash hit is fine, but how the devs and Amazon keep building and innovating on the game is the important part now.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. I can't agree with that more. And fundamentally, that right there is one of the things that I'm surprisingly not worried about. After 3 years of being involved in the community, I'm just not worried. I'm not, like, we've watched them over and over and over again follow player feedback, understand the problem, understand the root of the problem, make changes around that problem to develop a better version of the game. And the version of the game that we are playing today is infinitely better than any version that I have played in the past.
Yeah.
And that is because they've listened.
Yeah, and I think that kind of, the numbers kind of show that back, right, as well. If everybody who played the game, well, not everybody, say if half the people who played the game thought that it wasn't that good, or if half the people who sat in queues, thought that, after getting in to play the game, that it wasn't worth the queue time, or wasn't worth the time to sort of to queue, regardless of if the queue was like half as short, half as long the next day, we wouldn't see that like consistent rise, right, in player numbers, because those player numbers aren't people who are actively in the servers playing. Those are inclusive of also all the people who are in the queue. So if there was, if after day one people couldn't, didn't want to be in the queue and just decided, nah, I'm not going to do that, like, you would see a drop, right? If the people who got through the queues and started playing the game realized, sort of got to, had an expectation, and that expectation was sort of dashed because the gameplay wasn't as good, then you wouldn't have seen a rise. But we've seen a consistent rise, from Tuesday to today, like, day on day, there's been an increase in the player population, and that is only really happens if, the people who are playing the game or queuing for the game get what they expected or more.
Exactly. You don't keep playing a game, and you don't keep telling your friends to play a game that isn't fun. You keep playing a game because it is fun. That in itself is huge. Absolutely huge. Yep. Oh, McLeod beat me to it.
Yep, I got you. I got you.
I want to make sure people know that, like that, and I think that's something that they're going to take seriously. Obviously, the challenge now is they need to continue to develop content. They need to continue to develop repeatable content, because people are going to burn through any one-time content quick. But one of the reasons I'm not super worried about this is that open world PvP is repeatable content. You've got expeditions at the high end that are repeatable content. It would not be surprising if we started to see mutations or changes to dungeons to add a hardcore mode to be able to replay them at a high level. There are so many opportunities for them. From a PvP perspective, so many people have not seen Outpost Rush, and Outpost Rush is massive for the end game. In my opinion, Outpost Rush is where the game shines. That's my go-to, and that's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. So, just putting it out there. That's a huge thing for people to understand. Huge thing for for the community to look into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, and it's just right now, and it's just this thing that people have heard about in concept, but they've only ever seen a couple rounds of it played because, closed beta, although there were a decent amount of people that made it to level 60, you got to get a lot of people to get to level 60 before it really opens up and starts happening very frequently. That's gonna be my go-to for a long time.
Oh yeah, that content is really enjoyable because like the way that it's set up is, it is there isn't this situation which you can get in a lot of games where like you have like situation areas where you can camp really well, or like where you take 2 points and you can just hold those 2 points and it doesn't matter about sort of going out to that third point. Like there's means and methods of being able to contest a locked kind of position in that regard. That means that if you're just trying to defend, it won't work out for you, right? So there's this really there's a large amount of like interesting stuff that happens, and it's a very dynamic kind of gameplay mode that I've always used to say I always used to say that I'm looking forward and hope that you guys play, but like it's just really a case of when now, right? It's literally just a case of people getting up to level 60 and queuing for it, right?
Absolutely.
So exciting times, right?
Absolutely. And the more people that get there, the more fun it's going to be. The more frequent those fights are going to be, and eventually we'll hit the point where we can just keep piling people in and keep running it all day, every day, and that's the dream.
Oh yeah.
And then there's other repeatable content that should be coming down the pipe, that we should expect from them. In my opinion, that's the big thing that we should expect. We should expect them to continue to enhance the game after release. Obviously, they have big plans, and I want to go into that, and I want to talk about how New World is monetizing itself. So obviously, New World doesn't have a subscription. So, it's a success, but it has to make money. And it's been in development for a very long time with a pretty large staff that we, to this day, know that at least in the last year, that staff has been about 200 plus people, which tells you, hey, it's a good amount of people.
Yeah, and it's only grown since they've adopted all of the developers from things like Crucible, right? So
exactly. Yep.
That's grown in size, as well as also hiring. They've had like active hirings going on all the way through that time. So not only has the 200 kind of grown from from adding all the Crucible devs to it, but also all the additional hiring and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it's more along the lines of 300 to 400.
Absolutely.
If not more.
So one of the things I wanted to showcase is the drops page related to Amazon Gaming or Prime Gaming.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. A lot of people know about the drops, but I don't think a lot of people have actually seen this particular page, right?
Yes, this is a reasonably well kept secret for some reason. But if you're interested in knowing when all of the drops are, here's when they are. October 12th is the second half of the Pirate Pack. October 26th is the first pack, the apparel skins for the Robin Hood pack. So if you want to be Robin Hood and his merry men, I'm assuming that's going to be that pack. Then November 9th, November 23rd, December 7th, December 21st, and I'm sure that will continue. Now,
I wonder what the December 21st pack is going to contain.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that one's going to be Christmas themed. Or the November 23rd one, maybe have a Thanksgiving theme?
Yeah.
Or the October 26th one, maybe having a Halloween theme?
You never know.
In some way. Like, so putting it out there, hey, obviously, like, this is a way for them to bring people into the greater ecosystem of Amazon. So it's a one-time purchase for the game. You can buy either the standard or the deluxe edition, which caps out at $50. You can buy skins in-game, or if you want to get certain skins from drops, the only way to actually do that for the drops is to get either one, a special event drop, which happens for anybody, regardless of Amazon Prime or not, and then there is the Prime Gaming loot drops, which are going to be premium skins and skins for equipment, skins for full gear sets, you name it. Now, obviously, that means the Amazon Prime subscription just got more valuable for gamers. It includes things like Prime Video, Prime Music, Prime Gaming now, which is huge. The first pack actually gave you in-game premium currency to spend in the in-game shop. You've got free shipping. You've got there's a ton of ones that I don't use as well, but I get my groceries delivered, and because I have Prime, there's no service fee for that.
That's kind of like one of those. That's one of those understated ones. That's kind of like one of those understated ones that I think people kind of overlook is the amount that you save, just on delivery of stuff to your door. But when it comes to Prime Gaming, you have all various different things on Prime Gaming Loop, and it's not just New World related, right? It's you're talking about various different Prime Gaming Loop for all different kinds of games, all sorts of games. From the most popular to ones that you've never even heard of. One of the kind of cool things as well is you also get free games. Yes. Through Prime Gaming. And I literally just opened up the Prime Loot kind of thing, and you get Ghost Runner, a full game for PC, with Prime Gaming. Alien Isolation, which I've played before and it scared the shit out of me. But it's an exceptional game. It's won a BAFTA for its sound design. You get that free, with Prime Gaming. It's an exceptional kind of thing. There's so much value that you get out of it, which is kind of crazy when you think of kind of how much you sort of pay per month to get that. And I'm not saying I don't want this to be me preaching and trying to sell Prime Gaming, but it's just when you kind of see when the value is very obvious, and you just kind of want to be I want to just point that out to people
and by country that value might not be the same, as mentioned in chat. Norway, there's I don't think you get the option, or you don't get nearly the amount, although you still might get Prime Video and Prime Music and stuff like that. So there are some benefits to it. But it's likely also doesn't cost the same amount that it costs in the areas where you would get more benefits. Theoretically, I haven't tried to order it in those countries, so. But the other side of this is it's not a requirement. It's not it's not in terms of a traditional subscription, like World of Warcraft. It's not or EVE Online. It's not a subscription that gets you access to the game. It's a subscription that supplements your game while also providing you other benefits. And I'd be remiss to say, if you decide that Prime is the thing that you want to do, please click the link below the stream and support us through our affiliate links. You can also check out the New World merchandise below the stream. All of that is official New World merchandise sold by Amazon. The affiliate program just tacks on kind of a referral thing so that a chunk of their profits come to us. So
I didn't think you were going to go that route, actually, Ace. I thought you were going to go, seeing as you may, after this, consider getting, a Prime membership, maybe consider dropping the Prime membership that you get, or the Prime Gaming free one. one sub on
And
our
that
channel,
tells you how good of
then
a
that would be
streamer I
really,
am. I forgot to
that would
mention the
be
Prime sub.
yeah, exactly. That would be really cool. But like, obviously, the choice is up to you. You know,
Yeah. Oh
in
yeah.
that regard.
Um,
See, that's fine. That's where I thought you were going with this, but like, you just like veered off into a different direction, which was kind of funny.
yeah.
And Robot, I really hope that they do release New World hats. It's probably going to be a different design to the one that A's has. But I do hope that they do.
So there's a good question from chat, and I think this actually brings us back to the server conversation.
Yes.
When do you think they're going to put out server transfers? All my friends are scattered around to different servers because of the launch and the chaos associated with that. So I believe they're aiming to have this out in the next couple of weeks, where fundamentally they're going to enable people to move from server to server at no cost for one transfer. Now, there are a variety of different ways that they could do this. And I think the smartest way would be to give people a one-time token on their account. Hey, you can transfer to any server, one-time consumable token, boom, and you're there. I would highly suggest people do some research and advise caution and patience in utilizing that transfer.
Yes.
For two reasons. One, you never want to be the first person that does it, just in case it doesn't work. Two, you don't want this to be launch day 2.0.
Oh God, no.
You want to wait to see what server is going to fit your group. You don't want to go, hey, they've released it, everybody to this server, because then you're going to end up with 26,000 people in queue again, and everybody's going to hate life. Caution, patience, wait for servers to equalize, because you guys all know the mass group of people are going to jump. Same second they get the option, they're going to jump to another server. Wait 2 days.
You know what would be fantastic? I literally just... I mean, chances are it already exists. Chances are this already exists, but if it doesn't, then, fantastic idea for you guys out there to do. Just make a lucky 8 ball, like literally a web page with a lucky 8 ball, which just spits out like a complete random server name. Pick your region and then just hit the 8 ball, and it will come up with a server name. Like, there you go.
Now let's talk about dead servers. The fear is, I want to stay on a high pop server. Like, I got to be on a high population server because that's where all the fun is. That's where all the people are going to be. But here's the thing about Here's the thing about low pop servers. Your gameplay is really not going to be affected unless you own a territory on a low pop server. And here's why. If you're on a low pop server to the point where the server is no longer operationally feasible to operate, in terms of cost effectiveness, they're going to merge that with a mid to high pop server that can fit the average population without queues. So think about that for a moment. You're going to get a free transfer to another server. The only thing different there is the higher population server is likely going to be the one that actually gets to keep their territory. So the 9 companies that own territory get shafted for the 2 days it takes them for reclaiming a territory through influence and war. Outside of that, it's not a whole lot of worry. You're gonna get meshed into a server that is gonna fill back up, and you're not gonna have to worry about it.
And I just wanted to point out, like, we're talking about server mergers because of low pop kind of issues, right? We're not talking about the free server transfers that New World are gonna give to people, right? So, just so you guys know, exactly what page we're on.
Yeah. Now they might merge several small servers together to make it be one mid to high pop server. There's a variety of different ways they could go with that. If they wanted to consolidate, the 5 smallest servers in a region, they could easily do that.
The only
all
issue there is
all of the stuff I'm assuming is going to be, most of the stuff you have is bind to you in terms of like the valuable stuff. The gold cap, there is a player gold cap and a company gold cap. And should you hit those, I'm sure that limit is in place so that you can't dominate an economy beyond a reasonable measure. So, how will they transfer storage? So here's the thing. All of the storage locations are the same across every server. So if you have something in Everfall, all it takes is for the servers to just copy database A, bring it over to database B. All of the stuff that was in your Everfall folder for your storage there is now in the Everfall folder on the other one, and in your storage on the other one. It's actually a surprisingly easy thing in concept.
The only thing that differs really,
easy. Yeah.
The only thing that differs really is when you come to territory, right? Territory ownership. That's the only thing that's kind of the sticking point, the awkward kind of thing to this, and the thing that will probably rub some people the wrong way. And there's no real way to be able to kind of solve this that won't rub people the wrong way, because if they just delete territory ownership and it's just like it's now a new race to 100k in order to get territories and stuff like that, then it already bonuses the people who have a lot of currency backed up, right? If they choose one server sort of territory ownership over another, then obviously the server and the people on the server whose territory ownership gets basically like zeroed out are going to be kind of annoyed. Same with the other way around, right? So there's no real way of being able to solve this without like some degree of people kind of feeling like they got the short end of the straw. But eventually it has to sort of you have to choose one over the other, and I kind of feel that's probably why like me and Ace kind of feel like it's probably going to be a smaller server merging into a larger server, because in that situation you have the smaller group that's moving into the larger server having their territory like basically neutralized by having all of their stuff moved over, and that generally affects less people than if you were trying to do it the other way around, or if you're trying to merge like 3 or 4 different small servers together. So
so I want to say 2 things. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody, because we just broke 3,000 follows.
Yay!
So
nice.
Thank you guys. That's huge for us. Much appreciated. Like, obviously this is a colossal stream. We've now taken over the 2nd slot in the category. Not likely to overtake Shroud anytime soon. So I've got my expectations in line there. But again, thank you all. It's been a pretty awesome experience here. The other thing, and let's actually start talking about some of the changes from this week. So, AFK detection is the next big topic. So,
yes.
Massive queue timers brought up a challenge where getting kicked from the game for being AFK was, something that was like, oh god, I don't want that to happen. Now, they have not changed the timer to be removed from the server for AFK. So like if you, move your cursor around, open your inventory or whatever, you're gonna stay connected, for I think it's 25 minutes and then a 5-minute 5-minute queue for where it gives you the warning. You got a few minutes to ensure that you're not there, with a warning message that counts down, and then it'll boot you. Then you gotta sit in queue again. And of course, people fearing that would log in early and then use macros to stay online, which 1, macros are against the EULA, so don't do that. 2, I understand the thought process of I don't want to get kicked out of the server because I need to step away and I don't have 9 hours to reconnect. I'm only going to be away for an hour. Like, I understand the concept, but the queues get a lot shorter and a lot faster when you don't have people taking up 200-300 slots on the server, running into walls, opening and closing their inventory, and all of that. It sounds silly, but yeah, it is very much a thing.
You get into this sort of annoying gray area, and it's also kind of like an interesting gray area from a moderator's perspective, because it plays into sort of psychology as well, the psychology of like general players, in terms of like, but if I do it, like, nobody else is going to do it. Like if I decide not to use a macro to not get kicked out of the game, like, then I'm gonna lose my position. I'm gonna lose out, and somebody else is gonna come in and they're gonna use a macro. And so, in order for me to stay with the game, or at least keep up with everybody else, like, I feel like I'm forced to use a macro, right? And that's the kind of, it's very interesting kind of scenario, a very interesting sort of psychological what would you call that, like, phenomena? I don't think it's a phenomena as such. Like, it's just a very interesting moment in human psychology, coming from a moderator's perspective.
Absolutely. So what are they doing about this is the next question. They're creating a system in which they're not disclosing how the system will work, but it can detect if you are doing repetitive actions. It can detect variations on those things. Fundamentally, they're a data-focused company, so it's not surprising that they'll be able to detect things like common patterns and stuff like that. So simply put, just don't do it. Just wait and queue. It doesn't take that long anymore. It's getting a lot better. And every day it's getting shorter, despite the fact that every day more people are playing. So that's a big one. You started to see people going around town that are just like running into walls, and all kinds of things, and that's going to go away. If they find you doing this, the first defense is to just disconnect you. The second defense and third offense are dramatically worse. So do not do those things. Even if you have randomization on your macro, I would not suggest doing that. Again, this is a company that is very good with data.
They're very good with data, and even randomizations aren't truly random. Like, there's a reason why randomization or RNG generators have what they call a seed. That seed is basically a way of determining how the random order of events, which actually isn't random as such. Obviously it does get close, but when you have Amazon, when you have people as large as Amazon who can run detection algorithms on these sorts of things, they can generally find at a long enough timeline those patterns of behavior, even if you're using a randomizing element on your macros.
So yeah, that's a big one. That's an absolute big one. Now you guys can see that I clearly just ordered Grubhub on the other screen, because screen cap for the win. I don't think I've eaten anything today. So yeah, so that's one of the big things they're working on. Obviously that became an issue. It's a thing that they're doing to try and drive down the server queue time. More people will rotate through, making it a more desirable experience, making it more fun for everyone.
Yeah.
Grub,
Especially now
if
that Q times
if
have
Grubhub wants to
dropped
sponsor
down.
me, they need to talk to me because we can make that happen. Like,
But the nice thing is, because queue times have kind of gone down a bit as well, like, you know, inclusive of, you know, people using less less macros and that kind of thing, you know, the whole experience is going to get a lot better.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not expecting people to just suddenly stop using macros overnight, kind of thing. Like, there's still going to be those people using macros, but the usage, I think, I hope, is going to basically be curtailed, you know, more and more as time goes on, which is great.
Absolutely. So that's a huge step in the right direction, in my opinion. I think that future development into that area to combat people who are using macros or longer macros for automating tasks like going out and harvesting materials, that kind of thing, I think is prone to getting bans pretty easily. You know, it's relatively easy to detect too. So, with that, we've got some other things. They are also currently investigating a company creation issue. They're trying to figure it out, but on some servers there is an issue currently with people being able to actually create a company. There's no known cause for this at the moment, but they're still trying to figure it out. But I figured I'd mention that.
Yeah, it does sound like a fairly esoteric kind of one, because, like, you know, there's definitely a lot of, I mean, it must be something fairly new. Is it just the name kind of the selection of names maybe sort of so curtailed that, you know, all the names have been, well, I say all the names have been taken up. Maybe not all the names have been taken up, but, like, you know, the vast majority of names that people would generally tend to think of may have been taken up. Like, you're gonna have to be a little bit more creative in how you're generating those names, or how you're sort of, like, you know, how you're kind of accenting those names, maybe with various different things, maybe like dots. Just a thought.
Exactly.
With a period.
Exactly. And the last one that I want to talk about is this one. Message from the New World team. Posted by Trevzer for the win. It's been an incredible week of growth for the New World community. The demand we've seen has been staggering, and we continue to be humbled by the number of players that want to explore a tournament together. While it was certainly our aspiration to welcome massive numbers of players into the game during launch week, we were frankly surprised by just how many adventurers washed up on Eternum shores. Over 1 million players entered New World on launch day. That is a huge number of people. Like, each day after launch, that number has increased, translating into long queue times for some of our more popular worlds, which we talked about earlier. Since our launch on Tuesday, we have more than doubled the number of servers, and we're working to increase the capacity of all available servers to support a higher population cap. Our team has been working around the clock to add as many servers as we can, and will continue to do so until we stabilize wait times. While we do that work, there are options to get into the game more quickly. If you were a player logging in for the first time, 40% of our live servers have low to no wait times. We encourage you to seek those servers out and get playing. We're also working hard on a feature that will allow you to transfer your characters to a different server. If you choose one now, just to get up and playing, you can make a different choice later on a server to play on a server with your friends. Our goal is to release this feature next week. This is as this is 3 days old, it's referring to this week, and we discussed this a little bit earlier. Once we've thoroughly tested and are sure it's ready, prior to its release, we will provide detailed information on how the server transfer process works. We know how important it is to be able to play with friends, and we're putting this feature at the top of our priority list. Thank you for your support. Can't wait to see you in a tournament. Now, I see this as, with them, I see this as fundamentally the biggest feature that they can release. You need to be able to move servers. Your character matters, especially when names are global. Your character name matters. Having the name Commander A's is important to me, being able to play under my name. I was lucky enough to get it. That said, if we had to move to another server, I might not be lucky enough to get it there if it wasn't global. So, being able to move to servers, being able to transfer entire organizations to different servers through this method is going to be important. Now, after this free one, I think that this is likely to become a paid service. No one should be surprised by that, because that has been like the standard status quo for every MMO out there that has more than one server.
I would have imagined that exact same thing.
Yeah. So I would not be surprised that if that became a thing afterwards. It might take some time, but that's the thing.
And that could very well be. I mean, that I think is very much one of the reasons why they had the the global name kind of naming sort of system. I don't think really that it should have been global. I kind of feel like it should have been region specific. But I don't know. I don't know Amazon's thoughts or long-term plans in that regard, like or how their infrastructure is specifically put together. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. So there's some interesting stuff with that. I think that it's a good feature. It's necessary. It allows them to get away from some of the longer queue times and build a way for people to move to better servers, or move to more conducive servers that will actually allow them to play. And that's fundamentally where things land. I think we've hit that one pretty hard today. From there, I want to transition and talk a little bit more about wars. Because obviously McLeod and I have had the opportunity to play in a couple of wars since the release. We have some commentary around wars, and we think that you guys will likely enjoy seeing these wars. So we also are seeing the follows. This is also going to kind of transition into a little bit more Q&A type content, where we encourage you guys to ask questions. We will provide answers as we see fit in terms of what we know and what we can speak to. And yeah. So right off the break, you can see something is up with siege turrets. If you are on a siege turret, one of your weapons has to be a life staff. Like, you need to be able to heal yourself. You need to be able to get out of the turret quickly, and be self-sufficient and get back into the turret as fast as possible without dying. You can be entirely Constitution tanked with secondary attribute of Focus as kind of your primaries if you're going to be Siege. But you'll notice I'm able to just carve through people. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is something to note that in the early game, repeaters are substantially stronger than they appear.
Especially if they've been upgraded to tier 3.
Yes, especially if they've been upgraded to tier 3. to note, defense. Wars have the ability on the defensive side to start with fully upgraded defenses, provided you upgrade them through the town board. Actually, here's a good question. Do you think war is unfair for the attackers since they spawn out of camp while defenders spawn in the flags and low spawn after? So actually, they don't spawn at the flags. All of the defenders, and I actually fixed this since the closed beta, all of the defenders spawn inside the base, and there is no respawn. So there's no respawn until after you exit, after the actual war starts. So you can't just die and then respawn at a flag. Prior to the war actually starting, you have to actually start the war from the inside, which at the beginning of this war you saw everybody kind of rush out towards B. That's because they're all exiting out the door. So that's a thing to note. Now, do I think it's fair? I think that there are certain things that make it more balanced. Can someone heal you while you're using Siege? Yes.
Yeah, they do.
One of the things that makes it more balanced is that attackers have a weapon that defenders don't. Attackers are able to place down what's called a firebomb turret. The firebomb turret launches a barrel of oil that creates, on impact, a large area of fire damage. Now, this fire damage stacks with other fire damage. So if you have, and you paid for the 10 deployable turrets for your war, which costs 15,000, you can put all 10 of them looking at one point and throw fire bombs onto that point, making it next to impossible for anybody to withstand that amount of actual damage. That is a huge amount of damage. Even as a T1 turret, they are very, very powerful. We've showcased this in the past, but if you upgrade it to a tier 3, it's a larger circle, it's a lot more damage. It's a crazy thing to have. On top of that, you can also have a lot of AoE coming from your mages. Add in your melee AoE as well for hammers and your gravity wells to pull people together and hold them in that AoE. Those are all huge, and those can lead to some pretty colossal kill stacks.
Just a bit.
Absolutely. They can make or break a fight, make or break taking the point. What people seem to miss is that you can also, as an attacker, take down your turrets. So you have a deployable limit. If you paid for the 15 grand at the start of the war to declare the war, you get 10. So if you pay less, you get less, which is just a bad idea, because why would you not want 10? There's no friendly fire. So that's a huge
the very
benefit
important
there.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the very important thing, especially about fire turrets, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can have everybody on your point. Like, if there's 50% of the people on the point are like yours, and 50% the enemies, kind of thing. Like, dropping 5 or 6 firebomb turrets and dropping firebombs on there, that's gonna turn the tide very quickly. Very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't affect your team in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. Now, the key to this is understanding how capturing a point works. You have to have 51% of the people on that point, or more, and it will start ticking down. It is not a timer, per se. It is based on the percentage of more that you have than the other person, or than the other team. So if you are, let's say there's 5 versus 5, and you nuke the other side, it's water turn. That's actually a really cool thought. I kind of like that.
I mean, you probably heard me giggle. That's when I read that. I was like, that's actually kind of cool.
that would actually be really funny, because the other thing is, after you upgrade the fort, there's a third tier So this is the second tier of emplacements. The third tier, there's 2 turrets inside that would be really comical if they were like water bomb turrets, and you could do that and just, you know, eliminate all the fire in that area. That would actually be really cool. But yeah, there's 2 turrets on the inside that actually spawn if you upgrade the fort to that point. But yeah, one of the biggest things is when it comes to siege, the attackers fundamentally have the advantage. The defenders do not. And it sounds crazy, right? Like, you know,
it sounds completely backwards.
What do you mean? Defenders start out with, you know, up to T3 turrets. Like, if, you know, as long as they have them ready, they're good to go, and they have the advantage off the break. But do they? Here's the kicker. As an attacker, you can drop and replace your turrets as often as you need to, provided you have the battle tokens to do so.
Yeah.
That is not the same case for the defense. If you lose your turret, it is gone for the rest of the match.
Mm-hmm.
Which means if this turret that I'm sitting in right here blows up, I lose it for the rest of the fight. So, the beginning of a war should not be about capturing the 3 points. The beginning of the war should be about making sure that your siege can take out the defensive siege effectively and efficiently. Then you start taking down your cannons, replace them with not necessarily repeaters, but like firebomb turrets, explosive turrets. I'm talking more end game, because like repeaters are really only powerful until like everybody's level 60 and they're wearing heavy armor, and simply put, you can't do anything to hit them. Like, you know, the crazy damage and percent of life that you're watching me take away from these people in this fight just doesn't happen in level 60 fights. There's too much constitution.
I'm kind of wondering whether Katsumushi in chat is like saying that sort of sarcastically, like thank you for saying that in a sense of like thank you for you know, spilling the beans on that one. Now we have a much, you know, much stronger kind of or much more awkward time as defenders on the ramparts.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
but that's how wars are won. Like, you have to go through it and do it the right way. You know, like everybody assumes that, oh, we need to rush C, we need to take C right away. Like, you know, we need to focus on the point. No, the point is not the first fight. You need to get rid of turrets, especially early on, before siege generators have an opportunity to generate enough siege equipment to adequately repair them.
Or to upgrade them.
Or to well, for defense you can't upgrade them any more than they are. So,
no. Sorry, I thought you meant offensive.
Yeah, so that's the only way to repair them. So that's huge. That's absolutely huge. For a defense perspective. Now, your defense should be sitting there doing everything in their power to prevent you from sitting on your siege equipment. Like, that's the fight. McLeod, I need a moment. I'm apparently getting a phone call that I can't miss.
Oh no. But strangely enough, like there has been some good content creators coming out, you know, specifically sort of saying these sorts of things, and you've just hit your there you go, fair enough. Yeah, so I think sort of, you know, being under this misapprehension that like, you know, this secret will stay a secret for such a long period of time is, you know, it was going to get out. It was going to be, you know, something that content creators were going to talk about it eventually at some point. I know that Duelist kind of come out with a few things regarding, you know, proper siege technique. He seems to be doing a whole bunch of things with regards to it. But yeah, like, you know, the proper technique when it comes to sieging, it is, you know, minute 0, go out there, kill the enemy sort of siege turrets, whether it's the the mounted turrets on the ramparts, or whether it's the turrets that people are placing down. And that is that is one of the primary kind of the primary objectives for the for the turrets that that you see A's on. Like, yeah, fair enough, he's firing at individual players right now, but that's only because there's very little, if not any, like siege being placed down on the actual on the territory, right?
Yep. And look at how much struggle I'm having with one guy with the musket off in the distance, staying on this turret. Like, sure, I can repair myself, but
I had a much more awkward time because they definitely learnt from this experience when it came to round 2, because I was being constantly harassed. Yeah, I was being constantly harassed when it was round 2 on Everfall. A lot of that was essentially I was having to sort of jump on, jump off, like as you kind of see A's do every so often. Plus the fact that obviously this that you're seeing right now as being the first war in Everfall, like a lot of people had somewhat limited levels at that particular point in time. I think the majority of people were wearing wearing steel gear in that regard. At the point, I think the second war, I think there was some people who were wearing some star metal stuff, but a lot of people wearing high level gear, or high gear score, like steel stuff. But alongside that, obviously having more attribute points, and putting a lot more attribute points into Constitution in order to stay alive. So yeah, like early stages, the repeater cannons, absolutely shred, and you can definitely see that. I think when it comes down to sort of like the mid to late game, what you have to kind of do, and you have to sort of think about if you're trying to defend your territories properly, is you're gonna have to want to replace those turrets with with cannons, with explosive cannons. And part of that is down to the fact that you are you wanted to be doing a lot of AoE damage. And when it comes to when you're talking about AoE damage, you kind of you really want you really want to be pushing the hostile team into some very, very deep like respawn timers, and the only way of doing that is killing a lot of them very quickly, and AoE damage does that extremely effectively, as well as the explosive damage actually does a secondary kind of thing, which actually pushes and knocks back opponents. So if you're having issues with being able to hold points, for example, when there's like a rush happens on a particular point, like an explosive cannon can do wonders with that. How are you doing there, Reese?
Good. I'm back, by the way.
Okay, good.
Yeah, now the other thing is, your forces, coming from a defensive perspective, need to be taking down their turrets to prevent them from building them up to T3. How do you push people back off of siege equipment? 2 ways. 1, deal enough damage to knock them down, or 2, there are actually musket abilities out there that allow you to just straight up knock them out of their chair. I forget the actual name of the ability, but one of them actually does provide enough of a knockback that it does throw you out of the chair, which is important. Like that you need to be able to do that. You'll notice that we're doing a decent job of clearing siege equipment from the points that we win. Yes, the bow poison is another really good one, where you hit the turret with the poison and it just sits there. And if they want to sit in the turret, they then have to actually sit and take damage the entire time they're sitting there and be poisoned. Stopping power on the musket's ability, yes. That sounds, yes. It's forgetting the names of them, but yeah. Basically, being able to coordinate this kind of thing is also huge. Like, you need a shot caller that's able to say, hey, we need to focus on this point. You need this group to move over to this point. We need this group to focus on clearing siege to make sure that they can't level it up. From a defensive perspective, siege equipment on the enemy is something you can't allow them to have. You can't allow them to upgrade it, at least. Most groups do not understand the value of siege equipment. They do not. They relegate it to people who, oh, I don't need to worry about it. Somebody else can deal with it. It's it's a lesser than task because it's not the front line. I'm taking the points. I'm special. Blah blah blah. No, your siege is probably one of the most important factors in winning or losing the fight, defense or offense. And if you were paying anything less than $15,000 for the war, so that you can have 10 of them out at one time, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for losing, essentially.
There's a reason that it costs money to take territories. There's a reason it costs $100,000 at the beginning. There's a reason that wars are expensive. And fundamentally speaking, you should always pay the full amount for wars. It's huge. It's vital.
So true, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, any other, does anybody have any questions about, some of the specifics? I know, we could talk about, how wars progress. So, what the intended or best practice as an attacker. Here's your progression as an attacker. What people think the progression is first here. People think the progression is we need to take point A, B, C in some order, and then we go take the gates, then we take the center point, right? No, that's not actually how it works. If you're playing that game, you're going to lose. You'll lose much more often. As an attacker, here's the progression that you should focus for. You should start by placing your turrets all in one spot. You should have all of those turrets and your muskets start attacking the same turrets at the same time. Defense does not have the siege materials to repair those turrets early on, so taking them out early is only going to help you. They can't rebuild.
You have
them.
Everybody. The interesting thing is if you have everybody in the everybody doing that particular kind of job in the same the same squads, if you have 10, obviously two squads of 5, right? You can use the the market system to actually indicate a target to concentrate fire on, which is very, very important. It's a very useful kind of thing when it comes to coordination.
Absolutely. So that's a big one. From there, once you take those turrets, you now have the ability to siege the point. So take out as many turrets as you can see, clear those off the map so you don't have to deal with them later. Then you're going to tear down those initial turrets, and you're going to replace them with things like firebomb launchers, explosives, very few repeaters. The repeaters are there to remove muskets from the attackers. They're not there to remove average players because at level 60 you're not going to be cutting through anything other than their backline anyways. Now,
anybody who's con stacking with heavy stuff at level 60 with orichalcum kind of gear, you're not knocking them down or doing enough damage fast enough for them to die in any sort of reasonable manner or time.
So you've got those things set up now. You're able to siege the point. You need to focus on consistently upgrading your turrets on that point so that you now have T3 turrets lobbing fire that's dealing excessive damage to them. You need to put AoE mages on the point. You need your front line obviously in the point so you can capture it. You don't want them to rush in before your siege is actually set to go. Their focus should be defending the siege, getting the siege set up for that point, then pushing forward into the point when your siege takes out the defense, or takes out the back line, basically. From there, you take the point relatively uncontested. Rinse and repeat for 2 other points. From there, now the difficult part starts. Now you have to siege the doors. This is where oil vats are a joke. I'm sorry, but they can be killed. All you have to do is kill them, and they're never effective for the entire war. And if you kill them early, you'll never see them again for the rest of it.
Plus the other kind of thing is, if you put down like 5 firebomb turrets like by the door, like, you can take that door down fairly quickly, and an oil vat will do absolutely nothing to prevent that.
Exactly. So you can take them out, you can clear them. It's not a factor. You're gonna set up explosive turrets and firebomb turrets outside. Your explosive turrets are going to be to kill the doors and keep them down. And your firebomb turrets are going to be launching over the barricade onto the point at B. You're going to need people to coordinate. Are you hitting anything? That's actually kind of a big thing, because you need to know if you're actually hitting the point, because odds are you're going to be shooting outside of the range that you'll actually see the damage tickers. In another video, we actually talked about this. You can see it in wars because you'll see in the top corner up here, you'll see things like special kill or special assist. That's an important thing, because if you can't see the damage, you need to know you're applying damage somehow. From there, break through more than one door. You need to break multiple doors, keep the pressure coming from all fronts. Utilize fire traps if you're attacking. You can place them in their base. Make it inhospitable for them to stand in those doorways and repair them, because they will stand on a mine that'll likely kill them. So that's that. That's how you win. Now, defense is all about preventing them from doing all of those steps.
Yeah.
With giving them as little ground as possible over the course of 30 minutes as you can. Because sometimes these fights will come down to the last couple of seconds on whether or not you can capture that middle point.
Yeah, they can very well. And one of the most important kind of things that you can do in preparation to prevent that is to upgrade your hard points, right? Because when you upgrade your fort hard points, is it the fort hard points, or is it the fort itself? I'm not 100% certain, but like one of the upgrades for sure does emplacements. It will add those 2 internal emplacements, like cannon emplacements.
Mm-hmm. You want that to be at tier 3,
like turret emplacements. Yeah.
Yep.
So once you have those, those 2 can literally point straight at the 2 side kind of doors if they go down, or they can cover the entrance way through the middle door, straight to point B, or straight to the final point. Sorry. And yeah, like, you can put a variety of different things on there, and it's gonna be extremely beneficial. Like the only thing that you probably shouldn't put on there is probably a repeater. Like if you put a repeater, or actually no, a repeater or a what's the high damage, really low shot one, but it's a single point damage. It's not area effect.
Ballista.
The ballista, yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Like those 2 probably not a good idea, not a good kind of choice for the internal hard points.
Mm-hmm. You're going to want to focus on AoE and something you can lob over the barricades. Because those actually are... So, little known fact, the two, like, center turret pieces that you can, like, put musket people in and they can shoot out of, and they got a little, like, low-level fence in them that, like, you know, they're basically towers. But you can shoot through those and lob stuff through and hit all points from those positions. You have the range. All you have to do is know how to lob ammo across the map.
Yeah.
Trust me, it works. I've tried it.
Exploit the arc.
Yes. Your ammo can go much further than you think it can. So those are some of the important ones to note. Obviously, this all changes for invasions. Invasions are a completely different fight. They're much more, invasions don't actually have, they don't play like players play. Their goal is to kill the gates and get in, and destroy the center turret right away. So invasions are much different than wars. But you need to be able to functionally take out mass groups. So oil vats are actually much more valuable for invasions than they are for wars, because nobody's going to stand where the oil's going to fall. If you're standing there, you're probably doing something wrong, in all honesty. So yeah.
So one of the interesting things, I know that some people would say that there is some value to oil vats, in terms of maybe preventing a massive push onto a point, or massive push into the fort. But honestly, if the only value, is to basically sort of, I wouldn't say stop, but basically postpone the that kind of that push in through that kind of area and through that sort of that space, like you could utilize that in placement, so much better, because if that in placement, if that particular turret kind of that turret point is actually, there's a really important bit to hear that
this turret is almost dead, and I don't have any siege
a lot of people,
a lot of people
haven't seen this particular side of it, because I hear a lot of talk about repair kits, right? You can't purchase repair kits. You have to grab siege supplies, and that's how you repair a turret. Is you grab the siege supplies, grab siege supplies, and you go and repair it using those siege supplies. And one of the interesting things there is you didn't kind of see, but you kind of took all of the siege supplies, I think. But you can actually use, I think it's a control to sort of split the stack of siege supplies, so you don't take all of it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously those siege supplies, if you take the whole stack, it starts at 0 again. And if you
get killed, you've got all of them on you the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a long cooldown. The most efficient way to get a high score is by dealing a lot of damage and getting a lot of kills. Kills, assists, and damage all give points. So
obviously in assists, they have to go down. You don't have to be the person to actually get the final blow. But if you've dealt a lot of damage to somebody, and they were able to get out of your kind of out of your line of sight, or away from you in some way, shape, or form, and heal themselves back up and come back into the fight, then that kind of damage isn't really counted into the total damage or into any assists. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
And, some of the total damage and some of the assist kind of numbers really go up when you start using area effect damage. weapons, especially siege weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And you absolutely not. You absolutely killed it, quite literally, in this fight.
Yes. This is the definition of true domination. Somewhere in here, you could tell how many times the enemy died, and functionally, there was a lot of there was a lot of death on the other side. Like, there was a couple of guys that died like 30 plus times on the other team, which really is rough. We may try and cover the Restless Shores fight. Unfortunately, I'm not actually in the game at the moment. I don't know what the queue is for our server. I'm hoping it's pretty small here. But if we do, we'll be live on this channel, and we'd be more than happy to cover it if we happen to be there. So, I don't actually know the company that owns that territory, so yeah. With that concludes kind of all the stuff that we had prepped for today's show. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank our Patreons. I want to thank our subscribers, our followers, everybody who, just shows up and listens. I want to thank NewWorldFans.com, Amazon Game Studio, and just the whole New World community. It's been a great time. Thank you guys. Simply put, you guys have made our night with the largest stream that we've ever done. We're very happy with the showing. We're very happy with the support that we've gotten from other creators. And we hope to see you all in the future. Normally, we'll be streaming on Tuesday nights with a pre-show starting around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I believe we're going to try and do a weekend show as well. But we haven't nailed down exactly the time on that one. So, again, thank you all.
I think, yeah.
What's that?
Sorry, I was about to say, I think we're also branching out in terms of just doing like general kind of gameplay kind of streams as well.
Absolutely. So if you guys like the level of detail that we're willing to give when it comes to sieges and stuff like that, we have this level of knowledge when it comes to the majority of gameplay. So please come check out our live streams. It's going to be a great time. They generally are live stream in terms of normal coverage has a substantially less viewership, given today blew away every expectation that we would have ever had. So, again, come check us out. If you guys want to join the community and you want to get up-to-date information on Amazon, we have a lot of automation on our Discord that ensures that you don't miss anything. We track all of the Amazon developers on Reddit. We track all of them on the official forums. All of that is loaded directly to our Discord. Feel free to join it. And of course, if you're playing on the Paralysis server, feel free to come join us. We're going to be starting up a second company now, as we've grown to the point where that's a thing. And of course, tell your friends. We're looking forward to the next episode. It's going to be even bigger and better, and that's, functionally speaking, what we're aiming for. So, with that, as we always love to say, we'll see you guys in the new world.